All right, welcome back to Don't Think, Just Charge. I'm Dave, he's Harvey, and today we are reviewing the Blessed Sisters in one-page rules. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. In particular, welcome back to those of you listening on Spotify. Yes, for those of you who missed it last week, we are now on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube and you prefer to get your dulcet tones of us talking about OPR over on Spotify, go down into the link below, click on that. If you're on Spotify, come check us out on YouTube. Get all of the cross-watching love going. Importantly, if you are on the internet at all, please do follow us on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up, it's a massive help. Get down in the comments, let us know what you think of this video, and come and join us on Discord. If you're looking for the links to these lists, come and talk to us there. We will gladly share them. But lists? What lists? For those of you who are brand new here, we're going to review the army, let you know our thoughts on it, and then build some lists at the end for your gaming pleasures. So let's start to talk about the Blessed Sisters, the elite force of religious warriors in one-page rules, who famously, historically, did lots of shooting and now just do lots of murdering all around the place. Why is that exactly? That army-wide special rule is devout. When attacking, unmodified rolls of 6 to hit deal an extra hit. This is quite similar to Furious and Relentless, but it's just for everything. So they're just brilliant, really. We're going to start off talking about the spells. Now, the spells in the Blessed Sisters are pretty damn good. We'll kick it right the way to the top. Their damage spell for level 3, one enemy unit within 18 inches takes 3 hits with Blast 3. So that's effectively, in the right situation, a 9-hit damage spell. Let's talk about the other one at level 3 before I pass it over to Harvey to have a chat about Litanies of War. 3 friendly units get Devout boost once. What does that mean? It means you get the exploding attacks from Devout on 5s and 6s. Harvey, 2 very powerful level 3 spells right out the gates for the Sisters.
Yeah, I think the Searing Admonition, the 3 hits with Blast 3, we always talk about this when we talk about spell lists, but it's nice to have a spell like that in a list because it's, when you are coming against chaff, sometimes it's good to just blam them with 9 hits.
Yeah.
And because it's spell casting, it's not like you have to cast that spell. Normally I like to see a little bit more of like a fit any size kind of spell at level 3, 6 hits AP2, that kind of stuff. But 3 hits with Blast 3 is fine. One thing I will say is, Blast is a weird one for spells because it's got the ignore covers thing, and I don't think that, obviously you can't get cover from spells. I imagine the costing probably still includes the cover thing. I'd be interested to hear how much that actually increased the cost by, but it always kind of gives me a little bit of an icky feeling when I see that.
It's just not absolutely streamlined.
Yeah, as for the other one, buff spells like these are kind of interesting. I feel like one of the problems with Devout Boost obviously is that your opponent can trigger it for you. Which is annoying, right? Like when you debuff enemies, you basically pick the targets you want to get the effectiveness for. When you buff your own guys, it's a bit more difficult. Is Devout Boost worth casting for level 3? I think probably, right?
I think it is, yeah.
5s and 6s is good. Anything that increases the number of hits you can make is always good. So, yeah, a good spell. But I wouldn't say that the top 2, like your 2 level 3 spells are like winning your games so far.
Oh, they're definitely contributing, though. I think that this is a list where there's quite a few that are in there that if they go off will have your opponent pausing for thought. And just a quick note, kind of to refer to some of the terms that we'll be using. If you hear us talking about exploding and blowing up, we're not just talking about what we do to enemy tanks here. We're talking about when you roll a 6 and it gives you another hit. That is frequently referred to as exploding 6s. So if you hear us talking about exploding dice, exploding 6s, blowing up on bigger range, such as with Devout Boost, that's probably what we're talking about. We will talk about the fusion guns, which do blow up tanks very nicely here, but that's probably what we are on about there. Level 2 spells. First, we've got Eternal Flame. Pick one enemy unit within 6 inches, which takes 6 hits with Purge. This is our first time seeing the Blessed Sisters weapon-specific rule. Purge ignores regen, and against units where most models have defense 2 up to 4 up, it gets AP +1. short range, 6 hits, possibly with AP1 on a level 2 spell. Now, I really like this.
Yeah, I agree. Ignores regen is always really nice to see. This is not the glorious 6 it's AP2, but 6 it's AP1 against majority of targets you'd be facing in Grimdark Future is really good.
Really good, yeah.
The reduced range doesn't matter too much because likely you're putting this in a unit that's going to charge in and do its bits. So obviously, like it would be nice to have a much longer range spell so you can affect other targets a lot easier. But I think in this list, at least for me, I'm not putting a massive amount of casters in it, but I could see caster ambush strategies being used to great effect here, especially with like Pistoleer Sisters. You can imagine a level 3 caster coming down, casting both this 6 hits with Purge and also Piercing Hunter, which is the next spell we'll go over.
Yeah, so that's Holy Rage. Pick 2 friendly units within 12 inches, which get Piercing Hunter once. What does that mean? When you shoot at an enemy over 9 inches away, your weapons get AP plus once. This is what you're talking about with that Pistoleer Sister, the shooter unit ambushing in, getting these 2 spells off, rolling them on 3-ups, increase the likelihood of them going off much more. It is substantially more. 16% is quite a big whack, going from a 4-up to a 3-up. And increasing all your shooting weapons to have an extra AP, whilst also throwing out 6 hits, probably with AP1. It's quite an explosive round.
Yeah, for sure. This Piercing Hunter thing is nice. Sisters actually used to just get -1 to death in this slot, which is obviously a lot better than getting AP, especially with conditional AP, and especially this being shooting only. So it was I'll call it a nerf, I guess. But I will say that most of the time I'm using the minus death spell. I'm probably using it in a caster, and then casters and ambush go together so well. The only time I think I would, like if I'm taking caster in this list, I'm taking ambush with them. The only time I wouldn't be would be, let's say, for the tournament packs where ambush is not very good. Yeah. If you're playing base OPR, then this is a really, really nice bursty spell list in the level 2 slots.
Yeah, really can hit well. At level 1, we've got Righteous Wrath. Pick an enemy model within 24 inches, which takes 1 hit with AP4. Really nice at plinking out those regeneration upgrades or individual weapons from enemy units. And then we've got Burn the Heretic. This is our first time talking about this new style of spell in 3.5. Pick 1 enemy unit within 18 inches, which gets -3 to casting rolls once the next time it would apply. Now, this spell went through quite a few iterations in beta. I'm still not all that hot on it.
Yeah, I think the main criticism is, right, they can just burn a spell and get rid of it. Yeah. Now, I don't actually think that's really how OPR spellcasting tends to work. Like on the first round, sure, right? If the spell goes off, then they're guaranteed trying a spell at level 1 to try and get rid of it. So they basically have a 1 in 6 chance of this spell doing nothing. Otherwise, you successfully drain them of 1 token, and therefore their next spell has less of a token thing as well, which you could have done to them by holding onto your tokens. However, I will say that, beyond the first round, and even for like stuff like level 2 casters and such, you can actually deny someone casting a whole level 3 with this, right? Like if they're a level 3 caster and they blow their tokens first round and then you slap this on in response, next turn they're going to have 3 tokens and they're not going to want to blow any tokens on getting rid of this that turn because they wanted to cast a level 3 and now they can't. They could cast a level 2, but they want to cast level 1 first. So I think it goes, it's not completely dreadful. It's not completely replaced by casting a level 1 spell, I don't think. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not very good.
But overall, I think the spell list for the Sisters is very strong.
We did actually touch on that 1 hit AP4 as well. I'm a really big fan of the spell. Level 1 spells tend to, do like 3 hits or 2 hits AP1 or Surge or whatever it is. 1 hit with AP4 is actually quite potent. As the game goes on, level 1 spells are really easy to cast reliably. And sometimes you just need to hit something on the other end of the board, right? Like sometimes as your models are starting to diminish, you'll reach a situation where your opponent has completely taken control of an objective. And the ability to pip something from really far away and either potentially change that engagement before it happens or post it, delay that model by an extra turn. If you can stun them where they would have been capturing just from doing this 1 extra AP4, which is pretty likely coming into like round 2, round 3, where things are most likely on half health. This kind of spell is really, really useful for that. It's also got the added utility of sniping regen and so on, which I think is really important. Obviously, regen is kind of annoying to snipe because it's like, okay, I get my 1 hit before you've got a 1 in 6, and then you've got a 1 in 3 to save it. So you're still pretty likely to not die to this.
Yeah.
But there are loads of now upgrades in the game that you can snipe, and some really important ones as well. If you think about Orc Marauders, for example, right, like their speed feat aura, right? They only get that once a game, and if you can just like ping that off before they get close, because you've got a 24-inch range spell, then it is great. So once again, like a toolbox spell, you will probably never cast this spell in like 90% of your games. But the one time you are like scrambling for an answer to something, you look in your spell list and go, "Oh my god, 1 hit AP4, that's what I can use." You'd be pretty happy to see it there compared to 3 hits with Bane within 6 inches or whatever you can get.
Yeah. Overall, though, I think it's a good list. It is expensive, as I was saying. It is 85 points. So in a list like the Blessed Sisters, where you can get quite a few things for quite cheap, that 85 points does matter. But if you're keen on the casting game for the Sisters, you can do it very well. And we'll come into why as we move into the heroes. So we're going to start out with a Chunko, the Exo-Suit High Sister. This is a tough 9 hero, which I think is pretty rare as a base stat line, as a base toughness amount. I'm just trying to think if there are
in general
many,
it's pretty rare. So custodians can get bikers, right, that go up to tough 9.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, as just a starting point at tough 9.
Oh, so almost none, right? But like in general, it's really hard to get to tough 9 on heroes. You've got like custodian bikers, and you've got orc
bikers, the orc berserkers.
Yeah, but in general, tough 9 is a weird spot to be seeing a hero at. Yeah,
it is, but I like it. You do see it a bit in fantasy as well. It is worth saying. What you get, though, for 195 points is very good. So this is a quality 4 defense 3 hero with tough 9. It's got devout because of the army-wide rule. It's got fear 2, which really is very good on a tough 9 200-point model. Yeah. It comes with 9 attacks. 6 of them are AP2 rending. 3 of them are AP1 on a stomp. This is 195 points for that is really very good. When you look at the upgrades, it just gets a bit better because we've got these hero upgrades. They aren't auras because it's a tough 9, so this can never lead a unit. So we're guessing efficient here. Shred in melee for 10 points, taking all of those attacks effectively, plus 1 AP, increasing the maximum damage output of this thing by up to 9. You can stack devout with these to suddenly have huge exploding damage. That is a really good 10-point upgrade. I'd be very happy just putting a couple of these into a list. 205 points, shred and melee, you're doing well. If you need to get there a bit quicker, they've got fast for 15 points. You get fortified, minus 1 AP when being attacked. No range rider on it either. No range condition, that's 20 points. Devout boost, this is expanding your exploding 6s to 5s and 6s at 25 points. And then we have 2 caster options, caster 2 at 55 and caster 3 at 85. You can upgrade it to get a load of shooting bits in there as well, but I'm not particularly minded towards that right now when it can just be such a low to the ground efficient unit.
Yeah, it's obviously weird when you see a hero in a slot that doesn't really make it do hero things.
Yeah.
I think this is okay, right? I think the big elephant in the room for this unit obviously is quality 4 def 3. Def 3 is good, but it's nothing like def 2. Def 2 is a massive step up, and quality 4, as you just said, yes, it has 9 attacks, and yes, you have devout. But really, you're only hitting 6 attacks there if you, on average, right? And 6 attacks is probably not enough really to overcome the fact that it's got def 3. Like some things will just charge us and it'll die before I guess it do anything, which I think is a shame. But obviously, it is only 195 points. I think this might be one of the things that's just benefited from the tough update a bit, right? Like I think perhaps before this probably was like 220 or something like that, and you probably wouldn't consider it, but as it starts to come below that 200 mark, then it's quite tempting.
It's very tempting. I think it's very efficient, and when you're building a list like Sisters, I think they're very flexible. You can find that you've got 200 points and you want something like this, and it can be quite good. Let's keep on going. We've got a high Destroyer Sister. So the Destroyers, they're going to be ambushing. But the Destroyers in the Sisters list are a bit squishier than what you might expect out of your Havoc brothers and your Battle brothers and certainly your Prime brothers. Let's go through this stat block. 80 points, it gives you a 4-4. It's a hero with Devout. It has ambush by default. It's a tough 6 model. So think back to what we've talked about in the past. It's a bit of an awkward, tough point for a hero. It comes with a base loadout of a close combat weapon and a shield. So 4 attacks. Shielded gives it +1 defense, except against spells. So it's a 4/3 with 4 attacks. Because it's a tough 6, these rules are a bit more expensive because they're auras. So we've got a fast aura, we've got a shredded melee aura at 20 and 25 points respectively. A point blank piercing aura. When you shoot at enemies within 12 inches, you get +1 AP. That's 50 points. That is quite expensive. And then we've got Devout Boost Aura, Caster 2, Caster 3. You can replace the shield and the weapon for 8 attacks with Rending with your dual energy claws. You can get a Rapid Storm Rifle, which you replace the shield for. 6 attacks at 24 inches range with AP1. And a close combat weapon. And the close combat weapon on its own can just be replaced for an energy sword, chain fist, heavy mace, A2, AP2, blast 3, which is interesting. And the chain fist being A2, AP2, deadly 3 is also interesting. Or an energy fist for 4 attacks, AP4. But I'm not doing that. I think if I'm taking the High Destroyer Sister, I'm probably going for dual energy claws, if I take it at all.
Yeah, so pre 3.5, one thing that Blessed Sisters had that basically no other army in the game had was access to both Poison, which is now Bane, and AP4. It was them and Ratman clans. So one thing you could do back then is take a casting High Destroyer Sister, you could put it in a stack of destroyers, and you could charge them with all your energy fists, and your opponent would have to reroll their 6s, and they didn't get regen. It's a really, really good way of just like sniping at a tank.
Yeah.
Since then, they've lost that spell, so they can't really do that anymore, but they have gained Devout, so the destroyers are a little bit scarier on the charge already. I'm not a massive fan of destroyers. I think partially, as mentioned before, like Ambush doesn't feel great right now for the stuff that we're preparing for, at least. Ambush is great in the base game.
Yeah.
But I find it really hard to justify bringing something like this. It's a tough 6 hero, right?
We say it all the time. Hero.
Yeah, tough 6 heroes are really, like, unless you have to take them, which you do here, right? That's not actually true. Even for the destroyers, you can take a High Sister with wings.
Going to say, it's not necessarily the case.
So if you wanted a cheap sub, you could do that instead. So yeah, I mean, you probably will end up taking it for a unit of destroyers just because it's not that much more expensive and it can get the same weapon profiles and stuff like that. One thing I will say is I feel like auras are really expensive at the moment. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you look at the Exo-Suit High Sister, you'll see that this Devout boost is 25 points there. That's 25 points for 9 attacks of Devout boost. But if you look at a Destroyer Aura, it's double that plus, right?
Yeah, it's 55 instead.
So you'd assume that's whatever the base profile is for the average unit, you assume it wouldn't be 18 attacks, some with AP2 rending, AP1 stuff, right? Plus that as well. So, we're talking like the average unit. What's the average unit stat? Is it a 4/4 with 20 attacks AP2? Because that's certainly not the average unit. So I don't really know what's going on with the Coster. I feel like all the auras in the game are slightly too expensive at the moment.
It's tough. Some of them are great, like the shredded melee aura. If you can get that on a cheaper body, which you can do in Blessed Sisters, I think it's fantastic. But yeah, that Devout Boost aura, Devout Boost on the Exo-Suit High Sister at 25 points. If you told me you would bring that, I'd say great, enjoy. You're going to slam a few people. 55 points on the auras on the others. It's probably a bit much.
Yeah. I don't know what the average unit profile is at the moment in the game. I presume it's a 4/4 with like 1.5 attacks and 18-inch range or something. But whatever it is, I think it's slightly too expensive. And it feels almost like prohibitively expensive, right? Like 55 points is a lot of points to be spending on an aura.
It is,
and I think it could afford to at least come down by 5 points, so it makes sense alongside the Exo-Suit High Sister. But I could even see it down at 45 points. I think when you start to spend like more than 50 points on something, it's got to have a real impact on the game.
It has to have a good dink, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
well, that's the same thing. This is one of my complaints about the Rapid Storm Rifle, the 6 attacks AP1 at 24 inches. That upgrade, replacing the shield, is 80 points. And I know we're factoring in the fact that it's got Devout here, but 80 points for 6 attacks at range at AP1, it seems a lot. You're not breaking the damage output of being more than the tough value. I know there's Devout there, so technically you are, but it just doesn't get there for me.
No.
I think though, we can be fair to the High Destroyer sister and saying that she is just one ugly duckling amongst some beautiful swans and got geese, whatever version of that story you want to take.
Seemingly every list nowadays, every book nowadays has to have one hero that you bring just because you've got a nice mini.
Yeah, exactly.
Why else would you give them tough 6?
For the big tactical rock is exactly why you get it. Let's go on to the things, though, that are really going to be juicing your game up. We're going to start with the Celestial High Sister, which is a veteran, but better version of the High Sister. We've just for the terminology here, you'll hear us say Celestial at least once more in this list. Celestial is the way of indicating that it is slightly more elite than the other sisters. Celestials will have one better quality, and we see that here with the Celestial High Sister and the High Sister. So the Celestial High Sister is 40 points for a quality 3, defense 4, tough 3 hero. Of course, it's got devout. It comes with a close combat weapon and shield, so it has shielded. So starts out with 2 attacks and +1 to its defense roll, so a 3/3, which is good. Auras. We've got the Fortified Aura for 10 points, which quite good to see, especially, well, I suppose Fortified goes off your toughness, so it will be more for the Exo-Suit, but 10 points for that aura is quite nice. Then we've got the Shred and Melee, Point Blank Piercing, Devout Boost Aura, Caster 2 and 3, which we've spoken about already. You can replace the shield and the weapon to give it 4 attacks, either 4 attacks AP1, or, interestingly, 4 attacks AP2 and Reliable. So that's 55 points and is quite a nice little profile if you're going to be adding things in. You can replace the shield with a whole load of different guns. If you take a Master Heavy Rifle, you can give it a limited attachment, which is kind of cute. You could just replace the Close Combat Weapon with another A2 attack, or an A1 Deadly 3, or an A1 Blast 3, which are all good. And then you've got these upgrade with 1 options that let you effectively filter the Celestial High Sister and the High Sisters into units. So what have we got? We've got a Vanguard, which gives you Scout and Strider for 10 points. Really nice 10 points to see there. A Jetpack, as Harvey's already mentioned, with Ambush and Flying for 15 points. Or you can give it Holy Wings for Ambush, Flying and Tough +3 for 60 points. I'm not too keen on that one. Or a Combat Bike for Fast, Tough 3, and a Heavy Twin Rifle for 2 attacks, AP1 at 24 inches. But that is 80 points. I'm going to just quickly touch on those 2 tough 3 upgrades. I've already mentioned it with the High Destroyer Sister. You are looking for attacks to be greater than your toughness for the biggest blasting output. Those 2 upgrades for the sisters here do not give them extra attacks, so I'm already pretty down on those. The rest of them, however, super, super sweet.
Yeah, you do get to say Holy Wings, Batman, though. You know,
oh,
every time
damn
you
it.
put it on the board, right? Holy Wings, Batman! Let's fucking go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. This is one of those weird upgrades, right? This is similar to, I don't know if it still exists, but the Orcs leaders used to have an upgrade for like Cyborg Body. That gave them regen. It didn't really fit with any of the units they had in the game. There was no way of like making it work because they were getting regen. That list was through an aura. So it was just like, why is this in the game? What is that slotting into that you really need the tough 3 for? Because tough 3 would suggest you want it to be on its own. Why would you not just take Jetpack? So very strange upgrade to see there. So yeah, the Celestial and the High Sister. What auras do they get that the other ones don't get? Is my question. Is it Point Blank Piercing? I think it might be.
I think it's Point Blank Piercing.
So really, when you're looking at these 2, right, they are more expensive than the Novice and the Fanatic. So if you need to put them in a unit that needs one of the unit-specific upgrades, then you take these guys. Or if you want that Point Blank Piercing aura. Now, as it stands, Point Blank Piercing aura is within 12-inch range shooting. So there are 2 units in this list that really like that. There's a Jetpack Sisters and there's the Vanguard Sisters. I think Pistoleer Sisters, Pistoleer and Vanguard. One has Scout, one has Ambush, so you need those hero upgrades. And they both really love the 12-inch range shooting.
Yeah.
So if you're taking Celestial High Sisters or High Sisters, then the reason you're doing it is basically just put them in those units. And I think otherwise you can probably get away with a Novice Leader or a Fanatic Superior.
Yeah, I agree.
Depending on the upgrade. So it's okay to see these guys. Obviously, you need them for slotting into certain things. But yeah. And actually, you pointed out at the very start of that, but Fortified Aura being 10 points and on the Exo-Suit being like 20 points is another kind of what the fuck moment, right? Like, what is the average unit profile here? How does this make any sense, right? If the aggressive ones are too expensive and the defensive ones are too cheap, right? Like tough 9 is less wounds than what I would class as the average unit. So yeah, don't know. Weird. It's weird that it's twice as expensive
It
as
is.
an aura, because it's only 1 extra death, right? And you wouldn't think it would make such a huge difference. Either way,
Interesting
enough. Yeah.
What I will say is, for base game, I am much more of a fan of the Sisters. Obviously, they're good for getting into your scout units for whatever auras you want. But just ambush, flying, High Sister, Caster 3, it is expensive because of the 85 points on the Caster 3. But if you're going for that Caster Sisters list, that is a really nice unit to have. Just bring it in round 2, 6 tokens, as we talked about right back at the start with the spell list, and blowing some things up can be very good.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's not even that expensive, right? 35 points for High Sister. Is it 15 points for the wing upgrades, 85 points for the model?
Yeah.
So, it only has been like, what's that, 135 points or something?
Points.
Yeah, which is really not actually that expensive for an ambushing caster. You could consider running those on their own, right? You could just whack 3 of those in a list.
Exactly.
Yeah, 3 of those in a list, that's 400 points, but it's 3 caster 3s that come down round 2 and do a bunch of buffing and blowing things up and stuff. I'd probably slot one of them into an actual unit, into a Pistoleer unit.
Probably would too.
But it's nice having feeder casters that just feed
really
champions.
is.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that can do some good feeding, we have 2 more heroes here that are really good and cheap. Fanatic Superior and the Novice Leader. Let's talk about the Fanatic Superior first. It's got some rules that are unique to it that you don't see in the other sisters, and it's because of one of the units that they can go into. It is 30 points. This is one of the cheapest heroes in the game. It's Qual 5, Defense 5, Devout Hero, Tough 3. It's fearless. It's got Piercing Assault, so +1 AP when charging. This one comes with a Dual Shock Whip, A1 Blast 3, which you can replace either with 2 attacks AP4, 4 attacks AP1 Rending, which is nice, but it is Qual 5 here. 1 attack AP2 Deadly, also quite good. You can give it Regeneration. This is to have it fit into your Fanatic Sisters list. And then the auras. Now, the auras are why I'm so hyped about this. Nothing has changed except there's a fast aura for 20 points from what we've spoken about before. But what that means is if you have a unit on the ground that you want to go super fast, and for some reason you've maxed out your Novice Leaders, which I'll come on to, 50 points for that upgrade is good. If you want to do the spellcasting list, I'll come on to that a bit more when I talk about the Novice Leader right now with the cheapest hero in the game. I don't think there are any 15-point heroes. If there are, come find me and tell me because I want to break it. The Novice Leader, 20 points. It's Quality 5, Defense 6, Devout Hero, Tough 3, comes 2 attacks and shielded. Really, the only thing I want to talk to you about is the fact that this thing can get all of those auras I've spoken about. And what am I particularly looking at here? Fortified Aura, that makes it a 30-point upgrade for any one unit. Spell Conduit, if you're going to be doing the spellcasting list, for 10 points. Huge, I'll let Harvey talk about that. And the Fast Aura is a 20-point upgrade, making this 40 points to give something fast. The Novice Leader is the one I'm most excited about. The Fanatic Superior is still good. Harvey, pump the gas. Why are we going on about the Novice Leader?
Well, I mean, basically what you mentioned, right? 20 points for a unit in general is extremely good. I was talking to some of the guys that Discord the other day about it, but you can tell it's a me list if you've got naked heroes in it.
Yeah,
I love slotting little like 20-point heroes here and there. Just having an activation that can threaten points and isn't really worth your opponent's time. Like a whole activation for a unit is worth more than 20 points. So getting rid of this guy, you got a 200-point unit. Okay, your activations cost 50 points, right? 20 points is a complete waste of most people's time, but because of the way capturing objectives work, you have to deal with this guy, because otherwise they're going to walk onto the point and take it from you. So if you can put this into a position where it forces your opponent to have to deal with it in an annoying way, or even waste 2 turns with this, right, then it's extremely good before you put anything else on it. Now, you touched on Spell Conduit there. I think the spellcasting lists need to... Like, Spell Conduit is great, right? It's basically just a +1 to your spells. Interesting enough...
Quickly just read it out for the people listening who don't know it. This is a rule that says casters within 12 inches from other friendly units may cast spells as if they were in this model's position, and they get +1 to casting rolls when doing so. Sorry, but please continue.
Yeah, so this is a classic OPI cost thing. If spellcasting costs 85 points, how does spell conduit cost 10? And it's because I don't think it's costed based on the cost of spells in the book. Obviously, 85 points is a lot of points per point, and this is only 10 points to get one extra. So it's interesting like that, I suppose. I don't know how often I'm actually using this, right? Like as I outlined before, the use cases for spellcasting in this list is kind of like big ambush plays and that kind of thing. And yes, it's kind of nice to have someone on the board that you could maybe ping a spell off onto somewhere further away. You could come down with like a big ambushing core, and then you could cast spells like, you know, or bunch over here, and then use the 12 inches to then cast like an 18-inch blast spell, and that's 30-inch range or 28, whatever. But it's not like, it's not great. It's like,
see, I think I haven't used Spell Conduit yet. Full and frank disclosure on that one. But I think that if we get the opportunity to have a base OPR event, this Blessed Sisters should be at the top of our decision lists. Like, it should certainly be, I mean, when top, I mean like top 5, top 3. Because of the possibility of just having this ambush caster list with a single conduit in there, if you can get your conduit into a good position, all of those spells having +1 makes a remarkable difference. It really is. It's just every spell, 16% chance extra of going off. And remembering exactly as you say that if this Novice Leader is just buried in your units and you're just throwing out your devout boosts off of it on a 3-up, that's powerful. That is very good.
yeah, I will say that I think, you know, called on spell conduit here because it's on a hero. There are armies in the game that have them in their like units. So Havoc Dwarves in Fantasy, most notably Change Demons have it. I think if you're playing base OPR and you want to run Change Demons gets access to 6-hits AP2. It gets access to a whole load of caster 1s, and it gets access to a whole load of spell conduits. You can come down with some really, really scary like 500-point ambush units there that have like a caster 3, 2 caster 1s, 2 spell conduits in it. And you can basically just like bring down a bunch of them and blow things up.
Are they still in Change Demons?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Unless it was Change Warriors, but I'm pretty sure it's Change Demons.
I think they've been taken out of Change.
I'm going to have a look right now. Where are you looking?
But it is nice. They have spell accumulators as well in Change.
Oh, you're right.
Is that what we're getting confused with?
Sorry, yeah. I was getting confused with Spell Accumulator. Spell Accumulator, very similar thing. It's just tokens. Obviously
Spell
not quite as good
Conduit,
as Spell Conduit
in Grimdark Future is in Alien Hives on their Psycho Grunts, which, that'll be fun. Human Inquisition, High of Fleets, Saurian Star Host, and Soul Snatcher Cults. That's it. I was doing it from memory, and then I searched it while I was talking.
Yeah. I think of those, the ones we probably most likely to use it on is Saurian Star Host, because they also have very strong casters, and then they can eat little guys forwards to do stuff. And if the Soul Snatcher Cults list is good, it used to be good, that you might find some use for it there as well, but maybe not. Either way, yeah, so Spell Conduit is, it sounds to be a very, very powerful effect. It can keep your casters at safe range, but 2, obviously, it gives them a massive buff to all their efficiencies. I don't think Blessed Sisters is the list for it. I think the casting is nice, but I'm not sure I'm buying into it that much. I'm most likely doing ambush strategies, and ambush strategies don't normally involve putting it right down next to your guys.
Oh yeah, this is just if you are on the caster list hype, but if you want some alternative ways to play the Blessed Sisters, there are so many, and we can come onto it when we now get into their core units. Let's get into the core units then. We are going to start off with the Novice Sisters. Unironically, one of the best units in the list. We've already spoken about the Novice Leader. Novice Sisters, you get 10 of them for 100 points, so you can double them up to 20. Quality 5 up, defense 6 up with Devout. They come with dual combat weapons, so that's just A2 on every single one of those models. You can upgrade one model with one of the following. Courage Aura for +1 to morale check for 5 points. Precision Target. So this is one of the rules that is once per game. During this activation, you pick an enemy unit within 36 inches and in line of sight, put a marker on it, and everyone gets +1 to hit them for each marker on it. And you can stack them, which is really nice. 25 points for that. Eat your heart out, Dow Union. Then we've got a medical training for regen aura for 30 points. And again, when you've got 10 models in a unit, that's fantastic. You can replace the dual combat weapons to give them 24-inch shooting or 12-inch pistols with some close combat weapons, or A2, AP1. 35 points for any of those upgrades is a lot. You can replace those pistols with deadly guns or flamer guns with reliable. I'm probably not doing that. And you can upgrade one of the models with God Queen's Curse. This is a casting debuff for 10 points, which is once per activation before attacking, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches with caster. It gets -1 to its casting rolls once the next time this would apply. Now, that's actually quite a lot on the premium chaff unit. Talk to us about how good the Novice Sisters are.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to go into the rant about auras before we get there. Yeah.
All right, everyone, get your popcorn out.
Yeah, so auras are costed for a standard unit. Why can we double up 10 stacks to 20 stacks? That's way more wounds than anything in the game has otherwise. So obviously you're getting insane value out of auras on these big units. 10 guys with A2 is just a lot of attacks already. 20 guys with A2 is 40 fucking dice and 20 fucking wounds. You put regen aura on that, they basically get 50% more wounds. So that's a 30 wound blob, which is really hard to shift, right?
There's a lot to unpack in this one. Everyone knows that regen is a 1 in 3 chance to get an extra wound, Harvey. What do you mean it's 50% more wounds?
So the way regen works is you've got a 1 in 3 chance of ignoring every single wound.
Yeah.
That means to deal 10 wounds to a unit, you need to deal 15 wounds because a third of your wounds are going to get ignored. So it's not a third extra, it's 50% more because 1/3 of your wounds get ignored and 2/3 don't get ignored. So that's the extra 50% there, that 1/3 over 2/3. Yeah, so effectively this should cost 60 points is where I'm going with this, right? Because if the standard unit has 10 models in it or whatever, then when you double this up, you're getting a mad value. Now, obviously, snipers exist, and that's very good here or whatever. But also, I think snipers shooting into a Novice Sister blob that costs 230 points is probably not worth it. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I honestly, truly believe that all these 10-stack units should just not be double uppable. I just think you can just remove that from them in the same way Top 6 can't do it, because I think it's just too many models in one place. Aside from that, like as we said, very, very strong. It's an enormous amount of attacks. It's an enormous amount of wounds. Regen aura makes that very oppressive. Courage aura, it sorts out some of their morale problems. And you can even take precision target. And this then becomes like a hyper aggressive unit, because what you get is effectively the perfect stat line. You get like basic quality 3 with def 6, but with regen. So you're making maximum use out of that regen.
We're dealing with some heuristics here. Why is it quality 3?
Well, because it's just +1 to hit, right? So +1 to hit twice because you get 2 precision targets. We just take.
Okay. I was going to go for a different thing here, which is something that's very important to explain.
I guess it's quality 2. Yeah. I see your point. Yeah. So devout is 1 in 6 chance to get an extra hit, which is exactly what 1 quality is. It's a slightly different like statistical curve kind of thing, right? Like devout is way more spiky because you could just not roll 6s, whereas +1 quality is a lot more reliable. But effectively for average damage, they're the same. And in general, you want to steer towards the more spiky stuff. Like sometimes it can betray you, but the times where it doesn't, wiping units out before they get a chance to attack is very, very potent in this game. When you're rolling 40 dice, sometimes you do just roll 8 6s, and then that does just lead to your opponent taking 16 hits. And if you roll 8 5s as well, then it's 24 hits or whatever.
Exactly. It goes insane, right? So we're playing in an online tournament at the moment. At the time of recording, we've just had round 2 where you and I played each other. And as one of the challenges for this event, there was 2 kind of challenges going into the event. First is you don't pick your army. You are given 1 Grimdark Future army and 1 Age of Fantasy army, and you pick from either one. The second thing is we go to our friend Bence and we say, Bence, give us a challenge. And Bence's challenge for this tournament was you find the chaffiest unit in your army and you double them up and take 3 of them. So you're playing Age of Fantasy Goblins, which is easier for you. I'm playing Blessed Sisters. So I've got 3 blocks of 20 Novice Sisters. And when I tell you they are the best They're so good because you roll
Yeah.
40 dice, and in the game against you, there were a couple of times where there were 11 sixes. So
Oh, yeah.
just absolutely incredible the amount of hits this thing can churn out.
Yeah, and just ultra cheap, right? Because it's a very efficient stat line. So, yeah, like I said, I don't think this should really exist in the game. I think it's too warping. But it does exist in the game. So if you are running sisters, I do recommend you bring some stacks of Novice Sisters. You'll find massive value out of them. So yeah,
Yeah, good unit. It doesn't stop there. Sisters have got a lot of good units. Let's talk about the Fanatic Sisters, which are overshadowed by the Novice Sisters, but they are still pretty good. 95 points gets you 5/5/5s with Devout, with Piercing Assault, and with Fearless. We've seen this before with the Fanatic Superior. Each one comes with 2 attacks AP1 on their Chainsaw Swords. Oh god, chainsaw swords. And you can replace all chainsaw swords with dual arc flails for 5 points for all of them, which is good, which is A2 rending, so you lose the AP to get rending. Upgrade all models with regen for 10 points, and then there's again upgrade one model with this casting debuff thing for 10 points. You're going to want to talk about the regen upgrade versus regen aura, aren't you?
yeah. So I mean, immediately you can see the problem with regen aura here, right? If 5 of these guys cost 10 points for regen, that would then cost 40 points, where regen aura costs 30 points on Novice Sisters, and then there's always certainly some rounding going on there. Like you said, these guys are just completely overshadowed by Novice Sisters, unfortunately, which is kind of hilarious given the names. Paying for the 1 extra defense is very rarely going to make a difference with the Fanatic Sisters, so that's more of a point tax. Fearless is just inferior to just having 10 more wounds before you start to worry about morale. Piercing Assault is obviously very nice, but these guys haven't got a way of actually getting closer to them. You'd have to take a fast aura, and you could also just take a fast aura for your Novice Sisters if you really wanted to. So yeah, and if you look, they're basically the same cost. So yeah, one gets AP2 on the charge, the other one doesn't get AP2 at all, but also has access to, it could get a +1 to hit instead. So that's to tip it in its direction, which the one can't do. And obviously just has like way more attacks. The same cost. It's literally double the amount of attacks. And at the end of the day, attacks give you chances to wound, whereas AP doesn't in the same way, right? You still have to hit for AP to be useful, whereas attacks are always good. Especially because Devout multiplies attacks and Devout doesn't multiply AP. So yeah, I think unfortunately for the Fanatic Sisters, I think it's a cool unit, right? Like 5/5 Fearless Piercing Assault sounds very aggressive, but it's just nothing compared to the Novice Sisters.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, leave this guy at home, really. And really, the only reason for the Fanatic Superior existing, I think, is these Fanatic Sisters. They just slot straight into there. But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Fanatic Sisters. In the bin. Now we're going to go on to what people would typically identify as the corest core unit. Just your Warrior Sisters. 5 of them for 125 points. They're 4/4s with Devout. Really nice, stripped back, plain, straightforward stat line there. They come with 1 close combat weapon attack each and 1 24-inch A1, I've said 1, AP1. How many times can I say 1? 24 inches A1, AP1 heavy rifles per unit, 5 attacks out of the block of 5 of them. And things are now starting to, we're seeing the patterns and the repetition. Upgrade 1 model with 1. Courage aura, precision target, regeneration aura. As you'd expect to see in a core unit of 5. Replace 1 heavy rifle with 1 of a range of guns. And this is typical. We see this sort of range of available weapons in your Battle Brothers and your HDF. A shred rifle, 18 inches A2 rending. You get a plasma rifle for an AP4 shot. Flamers, the fusion rifles, 12 inches AP4 deadly 3. Nice to see, especially with Devout. A3 AP1, an 18-inch fusion rifle, which we're going to talk about later, a heavy machine gun, 30 inches A3 AP1. One thing that's interesting is we have got a Blessed Flamer, quite unique to the Sisters here, which is A1 Blast 3 Purge reliable. So you get it to be a heavy flamer in a specific range of defense. You can have a Sergeant upgrade, which can replace the pistols and replace the sword, but you're not really doing that. This is just a core, solid, straightforward shooting unit.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a massive fan of this unit.
Yeah.
Whenever you see
There's
units
other
like this, you
things to
basically
do.
always want to take your heavy weapon upgrades because they tend to increase the damage this system stuff does pretty significantly. So you probably always take the storm rifle. It's cheaper than the heavy machine gun and has the same range as the other guns. So
Yeah.
seems fine. But yeah, so you
just
look at
go
this, you
five.
go, okay, you'll get 4 heavy rifles and 1 storm rifle. That's 7 hits. Hitting on a 3-up effectively because of devout, you're getting maybe 5 hits from that. 5 hits AP1 isn't a lot to write home about. And then it's in that weird spot where if you double it up, then it starts to feel too expensive. You start to spend like
Yeah, it
300 plus
does.
points. So they're kind of in a weird spot, units like this with these Warrior Sisters. You definitely can just double them up and run them like that, but I think they're relatively underwhelming if you don't take the heavy weapon upgrades. Whenever I see units like this, I always think about the Robot Legions Warriors, who are 4/4s, but have slow and the 6-up invuln and have shred and AP1 and stuff, and think that they're like 100 points, which is very double upable. The extra like 50 points these guys cost, and yeah, it's difficult to really justify them. I find like it's the tough one thing, right? Like if you see a one tough one, you're normally avoiding it. It's just not really worth the investment compared to A2. And there are some slight exceptions to that, right? For example, if you're playing like Havoc Warriors, you can take like a Shred Cannon as their heavy weapon upgrade, and that's got A4.
Yeah.
So that's then an 8 attacking unit, which isn't quite that A2 mark, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
But I think 3 attacks isn't quite enough. So it leaves the Warrior Sisters in a weird position.
We did a narrative campaign with Ed a year ago, and I was the Sisters, and the Warrior Sisters did just feel underwhelming. Certainly, if I were starting that sort of thing again, I'd be all in on the Novice Sisters, the Warrior Sisters as well, because the things that you might look to the Warrior Sisters for would be the precision target mark, the precision target rule, and you can get that elsewhere. So it's not really stealing it for me.
No.
Let's go on to the Vanguard Sisters, which is where we immediately find our A2 and love it. So Vanguard Sisters, 5 of them for 140 points, gets you 4/4s, Devout Scout and Strider. So for those of you playing tournament packs, progressive, these sisters, these are good. They're very good. They come with the same weapons, heavy rifle and close combat weapons, but for free, you can replace all those heavy rifles with Harvey's favourite gun, the shotgun, 12 inches, A2, AP1. When you combine that with Scout, you are getting there fast. You're pussing out a lot of attacks. Drawback to the Vanguard Sisters is you don't get access to the Courage Aura, the Regen Aura, and the Piercing Target. And they have a reduced range of guns. I'm just going to brush over them mostly here, but I will pick up on a new gun that we haven't seen before, which is the Flamer Sniper Rifle. I can't visualize this in my head. I see a Flamer or a Sniper Rifle. How does that work? Don't know, but it's cool. 30 points gets you an 18-inch A2 Purge reliable takedown gun. So really it's an A2 sniper with AP +1 against certain targets. Talk about the Vanguard Sisters.
So just a point on the Flamer Sniper Rifle. It used to, I don't know if it was called Flamer Sniper Rifle or Flame Sniper Rifle. It might have had its names changed slightly, but what it used to be was just a reliable gun. It didn't used to have takedown. It got added to it, which I think is interesting. But yeah, it's a weird one because it's got no AP, so it's not very good at actually killing the targets that you want it to kill. Purge is nice though because it removes regen.
Yes.
So, because I mean, most of your buff targets are not Def 4, right? But it lets you snipe regen things quite nicely.
Yeah,
right?
it lets you snipe regen things, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so what I will say about the Vanguard Sisters is they kind of suffer from the same problem as Warrior Sisters, right? They're 125 points. You double them up there up to 250 points, which is just a lot. Like quality 4 is not that appealing. Devout is obviously very good, but coming off by quality 4, you sometimes you just miss it all, which is not great. I would like quality 3 plus Devout would make these really great. Def 5 quality 3. Then we're really talking. And also they have the thing that lots of units in the game have, which is like the double S combo. They've got Scout and Strider, which is like 2 very powerful rules individually, but when you don't have melee on the unit, it makes the Strider bit seem yes, in the end of the game, you might want to run from difficult terrain, out of difficult terrain onto a point, which is very powerful. But until that point, this is like a unit you're putting at the very front. It's probably not going to live until the late game. And the
Also,
reliability of 4-up isn't quite there for you to just like justify putting it forwards, moving it forwards, getting within 12 inches of something, shooting it, and hoping that it dies, because sometimes 4-up just betrays you. And then
sometimes it just betrays you, yeah.
yeah, and then you've floated a whole 280 point unit that hasn't killed its target, and then gets charged and dies. So it's difficult, and that's before you start adding in any heavy weapon upgrades and stuff like that.
Yeah. When you said about the two S's and Strider was in there, I thought you were meaning shooting and Strider, because when you've got shooting and Strider and no fast, like that Strider is pretty damn pointless.
Yeah.
Scout Strider, I'm keen on it for melee units exactly as you've identified. But yeah, that shooting point really makes that Strider feel bad, which is a shame, because otherwise I do think the Vanguard Sisters are sweet. I think 5 blocks of these in an army are a very nice way of just making sure that you can play those progressive scoring objectives in progression missions. But if you're playing base OPR, yeah, again, too expensive. For a Qual 4, I think that Qual 4 is probably the thing that's tipping it here.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, scout and shotguns are good, right? Like you put them wherever you want on the half of the board that you're stood next to, and they've got an 18-inch threat range, so they can be behind stuff and move out and threaten stuff, and you can measure it so that they can basically counterattack anything that decides to move on to the point early in the game. So you can often get you get initiative from that, right? You get to go first. And if you do just simply with the roll off as well, you can just scout them 12, move them 6, and shoot a lot of things. So it is always pretty potent. But yeah, there's just it feels quite high risk because of the quality 4. It can't really be understated how powerful it is going from a 4 to a 3. It really, really does increase reliability quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
a really incredible amount. And so when you're used to playing with Qual 3 and then you go to playing with Qual 4, suddenly you feel the pain. You do.
Yeah. I will say as well, obviously, the high sister upgrade we talked about before, the 12-inch range shooting plus 1 AP, obviously having a stack of what would be 23 shotguns with AP2 is a lot of damage, and Devout in there brings it to that kind of quasi 3-up kind of thing. So it can do a lot of work, but once again, you do sometimes get betrayed.
If you were
a fun unit.
Yeah, fun unit. If you were just playing base OPR and you fancied alpha striking 50% of your games where you win the dice roll, a double stack of Vanguard Sisters with shotguns, with a high sister, point blank piercing aura, you will absolutely detonate some nerds and feel fantastic about it.
Yeah. But what I will say as well, is you will detonate some things, right? You're spending a lot of points on that unit, right? You're going up to 280 plus a sister, that's probably another 100 on top of it, right? We're talking 380 points. And if you shoot 23 shots at effectively quality 3, let's say you hit 16 generously, they're AP2, you shoot that into a walker, it takes 8 wounds, right?
Yeah.
If it has regen, then it saves a bunch of those, and so actually you're not outright killing something on a first shot here unless you get really lucky. And if the thing you shot then doesn't die like a walker normally does, or pass its morale check or whatever, then it just walks those 12 inches towards you and absolutely annihilates you. Which means that actually this is a really, really good unit for killing things like at Def 4, right? Yeah. And sometimes at Def 3. But not don't push it into those Def 2 things because you'll probably be disappointed. Obviously, throw it into an APC or something, all right. But when you start to like Def 2, Tough 12 stuff, don't then assume that your high AP Vanguard Sisters are going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Really nice little point to touch on there. We do get quite a few comments from people about how to analyze lists, how to analyze activations. That little breakdown Harvey gave about taking Vanguard Sisters, 20 shots with a hero, 23 shots, how many hits, wounds, and so on. That's the sort of stuff that we're talking about there. We can do a bit more of a breakdown on how we do that and give examples and analysis. If you want to see that sort of video, join us in the comments, let us know what your thoughts are, but there's a little insight into what we do when we're talking about that. Let's move on to the Protector Sisters. We are continuing on the quality 4 rampage. We've said this can betray you. We said it can be a drawback. There are exceptions to those rules, which we will be coming on to. So don't worry, the Sisters list is not doomed. I think it's really good, actually. But we are going to be talking about quality 4 up a lot. The Protector Sisters, what do we get here? 145 points gets us 5 4/4s with Devout. They all come with a heavy pistol, 12-inch A1 AP1, and spears, A2 counter and a shield. So actually these guys are closer to Def 3 up. Counter is actually quite rare to see in Grimdark Future. This is strikes first with this weapon when charged, and the charging unit gets -1 total impact rolls per model with counter. So this thing can effectively take 5 impact rolls away. What do we get in the unit? The Courage Aura, Precision Target Regeneration Aura, we've spoken about that. You can replace the counter spears and the pistols for 50 points for everyone to give all of these sisters 2 attacks AP1, reliable and rending. You can also replace the spears with A2 rending or A2 AP2, which is very good. You can replace one of them with an A1 AP2 deadly 3. You can replace one pistol, but we're not doing that. Very interestingly, you can get this God Queen's Curse, the casting debuff. You can also get a Fear 3 upgrade. So, Protector Sisters, quite a melee-intensive unit. Now, what are your thoughts, Harvey? And most importantly, do these reliable swords change your mind?
So yeah, the Protector Sisters with the reliable swords are actually 2/3 is the way to look at it, right? Like, obviously quality still matters, right? But in terms of combat stats, they're 2/3. And normally when we see stuff like remove heavy pistols, we're pretty happy, right? Because you're paying, for the cost of an A1, AP1 weapon there. 50 points pushes this up to 195 points.
Mm-hmm.
A 5-stack unit doing A2, A1 rending isn't really doing enough to kill things on the charge. So you end up in a situation where you're like, well, actually, if I'm going to charge and take hits back, I only have 5 wounds. There's a good chance I could just like bottom out.
Die.
Yeah. So then you're like, okay, well, I'll double it up to really get the effectiveness out of this unit. And then you're spending 400 points on the unit, or 390. And then you're like, well, I should take my regen aura then at that point, right? Really, right? 420 points. And that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points.
Now, what you can do is you can then spend another bunch of points on the Fear Banner, right? And then that's going to win a lot of combats every time it charges stuff, and it's kind of nice. But it is a load of points. And it's a load of points, importantly, that when someone pops up with 15 fucking heavy flamers, it just dies.
Forever traumatized. Forever traumatized by the Knight Brothers.
You really need this unit then needs support as well, right? So you've got this really expensive unit, which will do bits when it charges, right? But as mentioned before, even 20 attacks at AP2 is not doing very well against walkers. Like, this is AP1 and rending, so it probably evens out to be roughly the same. But it's like, you then need to put something in this as well. Now, luckily, you do have very cheap heroes, but you then obviously need like a fast aura to get it in there, or you want like a shred aura to get extra damage on it so they can actually do the stuff. So then you spend an extra couple extra points there, and then actually you're like, well, I've got this amazingly high damage unit, and now it's got fast or it's got shred and it's ready to go. Really, I want to protect it before it gets in.
I want.
Now, luckily, Sisters do have some great transports. But then you spend another 300 points for transports as well, and all of a sudden you spent like a third of your army on this enormous stack, which will absolutely blend something, but it's not going to affect multiple units per round, which is the key thing.
Yeah.
So you have a very, very expensive unit that diminishes as it takes hits, and can't affect more than one unit a turn. And that's then starting to become too much of an investment. And I know that I've just listed off a bunch of decisions that you could decide against, but I think unless you make all those decisions, you don't quite get the punch you want from this unit.
Yeah. When I compare this to a Blood Battle Brothers Walker, tough 12, 3-2, fearless, 6 are extra attacks. It's got 12 attacks, loads of AP4. I think it can go up to 16 attacks. You can give it regen for the same cost. I'm way more scared by that thing than I am by a block of these.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've touched on this before, but this is the current tough problem with the game, right? Like, tough got buffed out of nowhere. It didn't need buffing. And so now we're in a situation where lots of units like this are struggling pretty hard because it's like, why would I ever take this instead of a walker?
Yeah.
The one nice thing here is obviously this does have rending, which is not seen as much as it used to. Rending is a lot rarer now because of lots of weird, wacky weapon rules coming in, and just kind of generally being replaced by rules that don't have ignore regen. Like, a lot of times you're preferring to see an AP2 over an AP1 rending and such. but it is really nice to ignore regen, because the number of effects that you can ignore regen has increased, but they seem more sparse in a weird way. So regen seems to be very, very powerful at the moment. I think perhaps also because there are so many effects now that ignore wounds that aren't regen. A lot of army wides on 6-ups and such, and spell eater and stuff like that. It kind of puts you in a weird position. But so I think you can, if you want to do it. If you really have this like clean idea in your head of these badass Protector Sisters with their procession swords and their banners and all the cool shit, and you want to put it in a Procession Altar and like really do the whole Procession RP thing, then absolutely fucking hell yeah, let's just go for that. Yeah.
Also, Procession swords, you could actually double stack your Procession banners, so this could be a Fear 6 unit. So it's going to win most combats.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and even when it's fatigued, it's probably going to win combat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there is something to say there, along with, as we'll come on to the altar, all the buffs that you can get, you can make it quite resilient if you want to spend half your army on it. And we'll come to it because there is some fun to be had with it, and we can talk about that when we get there. For now, though, they are a niche pick. Now, let's go and have a look at the two ambushing winged units. There is, of course, destroyers to come on to later. I'm going to start with the Assault Sisters, because this is our melee winged ambushing unit. 5 of them, 185 points. They're 4/4s, ambush, devout, flying. They come with heavy pistols. This is your melee option, though, because they come with energy swords, which are A2, AP1 rending. Sadly, someone has gone into the Assault Sisters unit card and just deleted all of the upgrades, because all they could do is replace 1 heavy pistol.
Yeah, someone typed in all the stats and thought, this is a melee unit. And then was like, what kind of upgrades do we have melee units? Fusion pistols, bro.
Yeah, replace 1 heavy pistol with a fusion pistol. A 6-inch pistol.
No, like, I've said this many, many times, that I don't think heavy pistols and the like are useless, right? I think actually they're quite good. Like the flexibility you get from being able to shoot is good, right? However, that doesn't mean I'm looking to upgrade those pistols, and I'm certainly not looking to half the range on one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm in range to do a 6-inch shot, I was in range to charge. And I'm certainly not picking, 1 deadly 3 AP4 over that. Now, obviously, like, shooting has its advantages. You can't die, and you can shoot at things, and you can stay on objectives while shooting things, but you already have that in the base profile. I think Assault Sisters fall under the, not very compelling for upgrades wise. I don't really see myself slotting a leader into one of these to make one of those kind of like tough 8 style units where you have a hero +5.
Yep.
I think most of the time they die when they charge because they are rocking Def 4. So I don't really know where this goes. This is kind of the Sisters' problem. All their infantry is like semi-elite, but not elite enough to kill things on the charge. A 4-up, like I can't say it enough, is just literally a coin flip, right? And so sometimes you'll charge with your Assault Sisters and you'll do 3 hits, right? And it's more common than you think it is.
Yeah.
And you'll just die. And it's so sad. And if you double them up, you spend almost 400 points on this thing. So yeah, a bit of a disappointing one for the old Assault Sisters, because really I don't know why they've got the heavy pistols. I mean, I'm sure in the next update when we get the Assault keyword and that kind of stuff comes in, then all of a sudden it would make more sense. Then I'm sure there'll be a nice melee profile then with the heavy pistols play into it, and maybe we'll see some assault on like a fusion pistol or something like that, and all of a sudden it becomes a deadly 3 melee weapon, and then this unit starts to make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see when the next update rolls around.
Yeah, with you on that one, Assault Sisters. I got excited by them, especially in base OPR, because I love an attacking unit that does multiple attacks per wound and ambushes in. Into melee. I loved it, but this unit ain't the one. Now, the Pistoleer Sisters are cheaper and better. Ambush, devout, flying, 4/4s, there's 5 of them, 165 points. They have close combat weapons, so they have that 1 attack that's mandatory, but they have twin heavy pistols, so they come in looking fucking sick, by the way. They're all like akimbo, mental looking minis. I've got a stack of them. I love them. 2 attacks, AP1, 12-inch range each. And they've got this extra rule, point blank surge. When this model shoots at enemies within 12 inches, unmodified rolls of 6 to hit, deal an extra hit. What's that? That sounds like devout. They've got point blank devout is what they've got. Double devout, Harvey, double devout. Now upgrades. You can do sergeant bullshit. You're not doing that. You can replace up to 2 of those twin heavy pistols with one of the following. For -5 points, quite rare, a 6-inch A2 Purge reliable pistol. Don't get confused that it's called twin light blessed flamer pistols. These ones aren't blast. I thought they were. They're not. It's just 2 attacks, but it is reliable and purge, so AP1 when you want it. Or you can have the one that I think is the best. 6 inches A2 AP4. Very good. Or you can have ones that, and that's free, by the way. Or you can have ones that I think are also still excellent. 12 inches A2, AP2 for 5 points per model. So for 175 points, you can rock down with 6 shots AP1 and 4 shots AP2. Shit tons of exploding sixes stuff going on. Put heroes in this, it's exciting. Where are you on the Pistoleer Sisters?
A base OPR classic is what I think about this unit. No, what this unit is a very expensive group of dwarven miners.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
That's actually what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, for real though, we mentioned it before, a caster in a block of these guys, they've got their devout, they've got their point blank surge, they've got a bunch of AP2, they've got a bunch of AP1, you buff them with even more AP, that's AP3, AP2 split. They've got a split weapon profile so they can target 2 units if they need to. It's all kind of looking up for the old Pistoleer Sisters. I think, yeah, so they basically they win the war really between them and Assault Sisters, because Assault Sisters pay for that pistol, whereas Pistoleer Sisters want to pay for that pistol, and they don't really mind the 1 CCW because it's required in the game. So I think Pistoleer Sisters are still a glass cannon, not super reliable option. Because once again, like, we're relying on Devour, we're relying on Surge. We're attacking 20 times, which is good. But really, how many 6s do you get in 20 times? Maybe 3, if you're bang on average. Those 3 turn into 9 hits, which is quite nice. Effectively hitting on AP2, hitting on quality 3 because they're 2 6-ups. So really, you're looking at, like, I think it's like 17 hits or something with a split of AP1, AP2. Which is a decent whack, but we're kind of once again in the Vanguard Sisters territory, right? Where you've put all this stuff in, and it's not going to kill every unit in the game. It is very expensive, and you probably do want to put that hero in it for that extra AP. Now, obviously, the advantage of ambush, and similarly for scout, you get to pick what you engage, and you're very likely to get the first turn with ambush. So if you've built a list around this, then you should know roughly how much damage you're going to do with your Pistoleer Sisters. You put them in a place where they're going to win their first combat. You're going to activate them first. You're going to do some caster shit. You're going to blow up a unit, and you're going to get a lot of value out of them and hope that your opponent then can't kill them back. And then because they're flying, they can then fuck off and do some bits if they want to.
Yeah.
So I think for base OPR, it's definitely something to consider. I think it's a really fun unit.
I love it.
So, like, that's
Base
definitely
OPR,
a reason to do it, right? Yeah, because
cracking.
sometimes you just like, sometimes I do just roll 5 6s and just have a big smile on my face as I add 10 extra dice to the pool, right? So it is fun. So yeah, for base OPR, I would definitely consider putting these in a list for Blessed Sisters. I think in terms of power level, they don't take advantage of like the ridiculously powerful stuff in the game, right? Like, I legitimately, if you had 2 of these, I'd rather have like 2.5 Novice Sisters. Instead, because they're not abusing things in the game. They're a very, very fair unit.
They're a very good, fair unit, right? Like, they aren't abusive, but when considering core principles of playing base game OPR, one thing we've spoken about in other videos is if you're paying 2,000 points, 10 activations is your max. What's the average then cost for a unit? Is 200 points, and these guys come in under that, and they can just take off a unit of Vassal Brothers, or if someone's got a support unit of 3 models just in the back with special weapons, you're going to melt them very, very effectively, and then be in position to round 4 swoop onto an objective with flying. That is quite good punching. Now, obviously, it's not game breaking, but core principles applying. I think the Pistoleer Sisters, you could make worse decisions.
Yeah, and you can also take flamer pistols and kind of cackle your head off as you turn 1 hit into 9.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Pretty funny.
That flamer pistol being the sergeant upgrade drop down.
Yeah. So I mean, base OPR, yeah, go for it. Tournament OPR, leave them at home. Overall, high risk, high reward unit, fun to play with. So I think I like them.
Yeah, they're good. Let's go on to our blocks of 3. I've just touched on the support style units, and we have 2 of them to go through here. We'll go for the support sisters first. This is 3 4/4s with Devout, and then they've also got Devout boost baked into them, which means that your Devout exploding 6s happens on 5s and 6s. This is an expensive unit. It's 160 points for only 3 tough worth of models. But let's see what you can do with them. The support sisters come with Blessed Flamers, Blast 3 Purge Reliable. So if these guys proc their 5s, you go from 9 hits with AP1 possibly to 18, which can be very punchy. And you can replace any of those Blessed Flamers with one of 2 weapons, either a heavy fusion rifle, 18 inches, A1 AP4 Deadly 3, really nice I have to say, 20 points, or a heavy machine gun, 30 inches, A3 AP1, also 20 points. We're going to compare and contrast them to the Celestial Warrior Sisters in a moment, but starting out here, I like this unit. I especially like them in the heavy tough meta with the 18-inch deadly guns and Devout boost.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned it already, but I think this unit is outshone by the Celestial Warrior Sisters. I think if you're bringing this unit, you're probably bringing it for the flamethrowers, not the heavy fusion stuff. We'll touch on it in a second, but basically the Celestial Warrior Sisters get very similar upgrades. They're a little bit cheaper. And the way you're using these kind of support style units, they're very, very glass cannon, so you can't expect them to stick around. And you're going to want to put them in APCs. And obviously, once you unload this from an APC, your opponent is going to turn around and kill them instantly. So really, the extra range matters a little bit less than you think it might do, because you're probably double moving, getting them out, shooting the thing in front of you. So yeah, I think, support sisters, like, 6 heavy fusion rifles seems very appealing.
Oh, it is.
Because you're like, oh my God, the 5s and 6s, bro. This is the one. I'm going to roll 25s and 6s. But it's still quality 4, right? So everyone's got a 50-50 chance of just missing. And the amount of times you'll roll all these dice, reach the end of the resolution and see how many wounds you've done, and you haven't killed the target despite spending almost 500 points on this unit. And that's not including the APC you put in and all that kind of stuff. It is a little bit gutting, to be honest, that your 480 or whatever it is point unit can't guarantee kill the thing in front of you because you spent a lot of points on it. And then unlike a walker who's still alive when it takes wounds, these sisters just immediately melt. They've got 6 wounds, they've got death 4. Literally anything looking at them gets rid of them, and that's 480 points gone. And if you didn't get your 480 points of value from that first round of shooting, which is probably the only one you're getting, then you're not getting the value from these guys at all.
It's worth noting that this unit, when you double stack it like that, which, it is good fun to do, and I have done and enjoyed and found good results sometimes, it also just dies to that unit of Pistoleer Sisters we've just talked about.
Yeah, and like oftentimes the things you're shooting with this thing probably cost around 480 points. Yeah. Even less than that, right? If you shoot your guy's big walker with these girls, like some walkers are 300 points, right? You spent 180 extra points.
I was about to do is go and open the Orcs army book and just give the people at home a little bit of a comparison exactly on that point, right? So that, where is it? The melee walker, 300 points for a 4/2 tough 12. If you don't kill that thing in one go, it's still punching you at full effectiveness. And it already comes with more points of toughness than you. Def 2 up is really, really strong, and it's cheaper. And this is this is probably the biggest exemplar of the tough buff issue. This unit, very, very dedicated anti-tough, really freaking expensive for 6 toughness if you double it up, versus just taking a fucking fat tough 12 dude. Yeah.
And obviously, if you shoot it with the support sisters, you obviously can kill it, right? It can just die. But once again, you're paying 180 extra points to the person of that, and then they take away 480 points. And the trading you've done there isn't great. You've also obviously used an APC to get it there, and now you've got an APC double extended. You don't get 200 points worth of value on your first round with the APC because it's had to double move. It's a high risk play. If you move your APC forward and they manage to kill it, all your Celestial Sisters come out, or all your Celestial / Support Sisters come out, and they're all stunned. It's a great way of throwing the game. if your
It
opponent
is,
has
it's
a way of
excellent.
dealing with it, right?
Yeah.
And it can win you the game, right? Against a full melee list, popping out with 18-inch guns can sometimes just be like, you literally cannot touch this.
Yeah.
However, matchup dependent, and you can just lose on the spot with them. If you
Yep.
don't put them inside an APC, they're really hard to get value out of. Really, really hard to get value out of, right? Because the second they poke their head out somewhere, they're going to die.
Yeah.
And if your opponent has any way of getting line of sight or indirect or double move spellcasting or ambush, then they're going to die if they're not inside an APC. So, yeah, very difficult. Obviously, we'll get onto it a little bit later, but Sisters do have like a dedicated Flamer APC.
Oh, it's lovely.
So these two are like a match made in heaven. Obviously, one is very heavy, deadly, lots of AP, and one's not a lot of AP, but lots of blast. So it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all kind of deal with those two in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the support sisters, I think, are more expensive. I don't think they're more expensive. They are more expensive than the Celestial Warriors. They're higher risk because it's quality 4 instead of quality 3, but you do get that devout boost. So the highs are higher, but the lows are much, much lower.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're less of a gambling sort of player, let's go and talk to you about the Celestial Warrior Sisters. So these are, I talked about Celestial being your veteran ones. So this is, again, 3 tough ones. Now, how do these sisters start? They are Qual 3 Defense 4 up, 95 points, and they come with heavy rifles, that 24-inch A1 AP1. So they're cheap for a reason. It's only devout, it's not devout boost. But what can you do with them? Now, we've got, again, the Courage Aura, Precision Target, and Regeneration Aura. The Precision Target is the thing I want you to bear in your mind here. What can you do with the guns? Replace any heavy rifles with that same range of guns that I spoke about when we were talking about the Warrior and the Novice Sisters. And what does that include? As we've been talking about, it includes Flamers if you want to run those for 5 points per model. So this is cheaper than your Support Sisters, but you don't get the devout boost, and the Blessed Flame is in there as well. But really, we are looking, especially in this tough heavy meta, to heavy fusion rifles. It is 45 points per upgrade, so we're 135 points to upgrade this 95 point unit. But where do we end up there? Don't make me do the quick maths, I'll get it wrong. 200 no, I've already done it wrong.
Also, I don't think you're taking heavy fusion rifles. I think you're just taking fusion rifles.
That's also a conversation to be had as well, because because of the APC thing, and those are 25 points.
I think you put them in a unit anyway. You put them in a transport where you basically have to. Transport gives mobility. An 18-inch threat range versus a 24-inch threat range doesn't make a massive difference most of the time. You're saving 20 points per model on fusion rifles, which is kind of insane.
That's the kicker there, right? So I mentioned that we're doing this online event. I have brought Support Sisters with the 18-inch guns, and that 18 inches is so nice. It's just that bit of extra security over the 12-inch, which most things are charging 12 inches, and then you're outside of fast. You're targeting tanks a lot of the time, and they are fast. 18 inches keeps you outside of that. 20 points per model is really where we're looking at the difference here. Don't sniff at the 18 points if you've got the points for it. Yeah. Sorry, the 18 inches if you've got the points for it.
The place where I think the Celestial Warriors really shine over the Support Sisters is, so you can take shorter range guns if you want to, which is obviously cheaper. So doubled up Support Sisters comes to 480 points, I believe. So 45 times 3 is 135, plus 95 is 140.
230 points.
230 points, so doubled, that's 460 if you've got your maths right. So relatively same costs. But the Celestial Warrior Sisters have access to Precision Target. So this is, we mentioned it before, you put a marker on something, everything in the army gets +1 permanently.
Yeah.
Now, as mentioned before as well, the goal here is to detonate the one thing on your opponent's side that needs detonating, because these guys are so fragile. So these guys popping out of a transport hitting on a 2 instead of hitting on a 4 is huge, way more consistent. You still have that devout for the spikes. You don't have devout boost for the ultra spikes. But you've greatly increased the chance of just hitting in the first place, which is what you want, right? You want that. You want a sense of reliability about a unit that's so fragile, right? Glass cannon is best when it's reliable, because you want to make sure you get the value. So they're cheaper, and I think they do a better job. The highs aren't as high. So this is why I say the only real reason to take Support Sisters is for the flamers, because you don't need quality 3 if you're using flamers. You've got reliable, so you actually save a bit of money there on the quality 4. And then obviously flamers love exploding effects, because 1 hit becomes 3, and then 2 hits become 6 or whatever, right? So devout boost seems really great there, because you get that 5 and 6 is doubled, and you get the 2 up for every other hit. So if you're going flamers, I go with support sisters. If you're going deadly, I'm going celestial for the reliability.
Also,
and that's
back to that
the
mass
decision.
hammer thing, of when they're hitting on 2-ups with devours, that is effectively hitting on 1-ups. So if you have 6 of these with your deadly attacks, on average, you are hitting 6 times. 6 threes, 18, making your opponent roll 6 6-ups, because it's going to be AP4. You are killing most high tough things.
Yeah, you're not quite killing regen things. That's the
valid
one
point.
thing, because a 6 of them are going away, unfortunately. So you end up doing 15 wounds on average, right? But obviously, who cares about averages? Sometimes things just die.
Sometimes things just die.
Sometimes things just die. But yeah, either way, so you can see that the reliability of Celestial Warrior Sisters there, where it isn't really there for support sisters. And I think that's basically the decision you make, right? Do I want flamers? I go support. Do I want deadly? I go celestial, and you leave it there.
Yeah. So we do like these units. It's worth noting, even though they are very fragile, they are good, especially where either we're terrified of blocks of 20 and you want the flamers, or are terrified of walkers and tanks, which we'll come on to, and you want the deadly.
Yeah. I will also mention as well, just something that came up last week in our Dow review, is the skill cap on transports is pretty high.
It is pretty
because
high,
they're basically moving terrain. And because this is a glass cannon unit that wants to get out of a transport, how you use your transports is really important, right? So small things like which way, because most transports are rectangles, which way do you place it, right? If you kind of like drive up the board and place it forwards, and then disembark your Celestial Warrior Sisters on the front of it, then this is not providing any transport behind them, any cover behind them. Yeah. But if you turn it at an angle such that the only thing that they can see from behind the truck is the one thing you want to shoot, then you can potentially shield them from all the fire elsewhere. So that kind of like small micro adjustment can lead to line of sight blocking, and it can lead them not being able to deal with them, and so on. So it's not always going to apply in games. There's lots of situations where you can't do anything with that. But just keep on top of it, really. Have a real think when you're placing your transport. Can I angle this better? Can I put it in a better position to stop line of sight? Because really, once you've dropped things off with a transport, most of the uses of a transport is then just double moving and blocking charges and blocking line of sights. Unless, of course, you decide to go with the flamer one. Then
I was about to say, stay tuned for the exceptions.
You're probably just 8-inching everywhere and blowing things up with flamethrowers. But
yeah. Very good. Very good. Yes, I think it's important, again, to stress that and repeat what Harvey said about skill cap. And I think the sisters are a very skill-intensive army. Let's go and have a look at what are normally my favourite parts. This is the part, actually, I think, other than the Qual 4, that hurts me the most in the sisters. The tough 3 things just aren't quite there. They're still fairly reasonable. Let's start with the Destroyer Sisters. And they're very reasonable because this is a unit of 3 tough 3s for only 135 points. What do you get for that 135 points? You get 4 4s. 3 4/4s with ambush, devout, and tough 3. Their weapon loadout is close combat weapons for 3 attacks, AP nothing, with a shield for shielded. So you could say these are 4 3s. They've got the same courage, precision, target, and regeneration aura. Very nicely, you can replace the shields and close combat weapons with dual energy claws, which are A4 rending. That's 35 points for all of the units to go for it, so that would make them 170. You can have storm rifles, 3 attacks, AP1. 90 points for all 3 is expensive. You can replace the storm rifle with A2 blast 3 purge reliable, or that twin heavy fusion rifle, A2 AP4 deadly 3. And you can replace any close combat weapon with a nice range of melee weapons. I think this is the first and probably the only time I'm going to dwell on it. You can have Energy Hammer, A1 Blast 3 for free. So you can have the full unit of Blast, Devout, Ambushing Destroyer Sisters, which is quite nice. Chain Fist, A1 AP2 Deadly 3. Heavy Mace, A1 AP2 and Blast 3. That's 10 points, that's very good. Or Energy Swords or Fists. So 3 attacks. The swords are AP1 Rending and the fists are AP4. Now, I think this is a unit that I'm more excited for in base OPR.
Yeah, I think this is a unit that it like looks like it should do a thing, but I don't think it quite hits the mark for it. These are the kind of destroyer style units. They're normally a very good access to AP4.
Yeah.
So they're really good at bullying tanks because they come down and they charge in and they do their guaranteed damage and they shake the tank. And, not really long range stuff tends to not be able to deal with that. Long range walkers and stuff you can charge in and do that too. But a key part of that role is you also want to be durable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you want to be persistent, right? So shielded is really nice because you get that def 3, but lots of destroyers have shielded, which bring them down to def 2. And def 2, as mentioned before, is a big step up from def 3.
Yeah.
And because they're only A3, it's almost important to be def 2 because you win melee more often, right? Because you don't have that many attacks. Because even if you get these guys out with all their energy fist, it's only 9 attacks. And you're only hitting 6 of them on average. And they're saving 1 of them. So you're only doing 5 hits with no fear. And it's very easy to see a situation where like a walker just turns around and does more than 5 wounds to these guys.
Yeah, love taps them, right?
Yeah. So I think it's quite difficult to really to say that these guys are doing their job because they're either bullying tanks or they're bullying high defense chaff style units, right? Because that's what the rending claws are for, right? You run in, you tear to pieces a big unit of orcs or whatever. But once again, because they've got relatively low defense, especially without the shielded, I think they're going to lose on the crackback quite a lot. So it's a unit that's kind of floating weirdly in the middle.
What I
also
say,
think
oh, sorry,
precision target obviously makes it nice, and regen is obviously nice as well. But because it's ambush, actually precision target's really nice to have on round 1 because it buffs your whole army really, right? And coming down on ambush means first of all you have to activate these guys first, which depending on how many points you put into them, they might actually be quite low on the list, right? Like if you just kit them out with just energy claws and just have them as a cheap ambusher, you don't want to put precision target on them because you're probably not going to activate them first. And you probably don't want to put regener on them either, right? Because they're so cheap that you're like, I'd rather put regener on something else. Yeah. So I think the only way these guys really become good is if you do just commit to it, right? And you do just go right, I'm going to put 3 energy fists on it, double them up, put them with a Destroyer Sister leader and give them, I don't know, rending in melee or whatever, shred in melee and go for the thing. But I'm not really convinced that's the way to play them.
I actually quite like them just 135 points. We've spoken about you'd love a naked hero for the ability to be a cheap activation that just takes a point. 135 points is really cheap for 9 toughness. That is defense 3. You're putting it into chaffy units. You're not trading with it. You're not making aggressive plays. As you said, it's very far down your activation priority list. But if you're playing 10 activations, your priority is elsewhere in your list. You have 2 of these, that 270 points, just over a tenth of your army. You can just drop in on round 3 if you want to pressure them, or round 2 if you want burner activations to just nip onto that point in the final round. That's actually quite good.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, what you've made them is swarms.
Yeah, exactly.
You've made it a very expensive swarm, which, swarms are good. So, yeah, not too surprising there. I will say as well, the energy hammer, right? Blast 3 has a discount over A3. That's why it exists, right?
Yeah.
It's cheaper. So it's actually a rounding thing that the energy hammers aren't the default weapon. You very, very rarely see A1 Blast not being the default weapon on a unit. So it's an interesting little thing that the rounding just worked out that for once you actually see the A3 over the Blast, which is kind of cool.
Also, if you do take that A1 Blast 3, this is another point of it being a possible chaff killer as well. 135 points because those energy hammers are free. With Devout, if you drop these sisters in, there is a chance that you just detonate a chaff unit. As well, if you consider the swarm analogy, which I think is quite good here, they're a defense 3 swarm, so that's quite resilient. And if you charge them into an enemy swarm unit and you spike some 6s, you could just wipe out that swarm unit because of Blast and Devout. So these aren't the most insane game-breaking units, but I think they have a place to the Destroyer Sisters. But they don't fulfill my power fantasy of the Custodian Guard, 300-point blender, whatever unit. But they are effective, and they are cheap, and Devout can give you some big spikes. So that's where they are. we now come on to bikers. We've spoken about this before on the channel. Bikes don't really have a place in OPR that feels good at the moment, but let's talk about it. We have Fanatics and Sisters. So the Fanatics are 3 tough 3-5-5s, devout, fast, and then the Fanatic thing, fearless and piercing assault. We have found our friend Adam, the no upgrades HDF soldier, and that is because the biker Fanatics have heavy chainsaw swords, 4 attacks AP1, not bad on a fast piercing assault unit with devout, and they've got these twin heavy rifles, 24 inches, 2 attacks AP1, so 6 range shots there. You've built a list in the past where you've had a unit of biker Fanatics.
Yeah, I mean, that's all there is to say about it. One list in the past.
One list.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a quality 5-up, exploding 6s, 4 attacks, AP1. These guys would be better if they didn't have the rifles.
They would be much better.
The rifles are okay. They got that kind of like obviously 6 attacks. You're hitting 2 of them on average. 2 AP1 shots is not the end of the world. They play like a skirmishing role. But I think bikers, even with the tough 3 stuff, they just don't feel like they do the thing you want them to do.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I feel like bikes are best when they're like the tough 6 ones. And they are just like cheap single model units that get stuff like Strider and fast. And they can play like a full skirmish game. These ones I just don't. And I don't feel them being that great. One of the really nice things about tough 3 is your morale break point is after you've taken 6 wounds, right? Instead of where it should be, which is 4.5. But that is not as meaningful if you have Def 5.
Yeah.
It's really that bully thing, right? Like tough 3 units can really be bullies if they have high defense because they're so hard to force to morale that they stick around the board for so long. And with that Def 2 or sometimes like plus 1-up defense, right? Like a lot of them do have with shields and stuff. It can really fill that role of like, put it there. It stays there for a really long time unless your opponent really commits stuff to it. Whereas biker Fanatics, you'll charge and they're quality 5, so they could do literally nothing. At best, they're like 12 attacks, right? So hitting 4 of them, or I guess hitting 6 of them on average, 6 AP2 hits is okay. But once again, you've got that crackback situation, right, where you charge these into a walker. Obviously, that's not super advisable, but even if you double them up to 440 points and charge them into a walker, the walker's still winning combat.
By a landslide.
Yeah, by an absolute landslide. And when you're spending 440 points on something, you better hope that it can deal with more than just one style of threat.
Yeah, this is a very expensive, this is a very poor quality 220 point unit.
Yeah.
Comparing these guys being flanking harassers or whatever, comparing that for 85 points cheaper to get the Destroyer Sisters, and far more on that side of things.
Yeah, I think there's a thing in OPR, right, which I think is unfortunate, really, because I think it's a bit of a design mistake, which is the Titan Lord check, right?
Yeah.
If you look at a unit and go like, can this deal with a Titan Lord? If the answer is no, then when you come into that Titan Lord matchup, which is already quite a hard matchup for a lot of armies, you've got these wasted points, right? Where these guys just become like chaff you throw at a Titan Lord to try and exhaust it, which is still a role. But yeah, I think, you know, I like most things in OPR, I say this basically every time we do an army review. If you bring biker Fanatics, you might find success with them and you might be very happy with them, right? I wouldn't put them on an optimized list for Blessed Sisters, but I still think that you could find a role for them and a way of including them in an army where they felt like they did stuff. And if you really want to just make a whole army of biker Fanatics, then just go for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there is definitely like a Mad Max list to be built here. Biker Fanatics and Biker Sisters and Procession Altars and all that shit.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird Mad Maxy vibe, isn't it? Really, with Blessed Sisters, you could like, they're kind of like a slightly more put together version of Mad Max because they have like fucking organs on their cars and they have flamethrowers and shit, right? Like, they're just like this. They're literally what would happen if Mad Max was women, basically, right? That's what it feels like, right? You know. That's the kind of like more like put together, like men just like a complete mess and we've got spikes on shit, and women have got this like beautiful, lovely way of presenting things, but still kind of like gnarly with flamethrowers and shit. That's what it kind of gives the vibe of.
Oh, let's move on to the Biker Sisters whilst we're talking about that. Interestingly, the reduction in keywords despite the improvement of quality and defense, makes them cheaper. So 215 points, 5 points cheaper, gets you 3 tough 3 4/4s with devout and fast. Their weapon profiles are also worse as base. You have those 3 twin heavy rifles, but these ones come with heavy pistols as well, like 12-inch A1 AP1. 2 attacks with their close combat weapons, which you kind of wish were just A1, but there we go. You can replace all of the heavy pistols with a heavy rifle, so you can take it up to 3 attacks at 24 inches. Or you bin the pistols to get energy lances. 2 attacks with AP1 and thrust at 10 points for the whole unit. I'm not hating that too much here. You can replace a heavy rifle with a weapon upgrade, do sergeant shit as well. Yeah, I don't know so much about the Biker Sisters. I think that they are better than the Biker Fanatics. Lance is just a really good rule to have that thrust. +1 to hit, +1 AP when charging. On a fast unit, that's what you want. I'm not rushing to take them in my list, but if you came up to me and said, I have 3 units of Biker Sisters, 3 units of 6 Biker Sisters with energy lances, and a sergeant, sword, and energy fist combo upgrade in there as well, I think, you know what? I'm going to get charged and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, I think these guys, they're A2, right?
A4 with the lancers, right? Oh, no. Oh, I completely misread it. It is also replacing the close combat weapons. Damn that shit.
Yeah, so take Biker Fanatics over the Biker Sisters, I think.
Oh, shit. I thought these were A4.
No, unfortunately, a bit of a letdown, really.
Massive letdown.
Like, kind of classic biker upgrades, right? A bunch of just like kind of melee, kind of range mix thing going on, like super hybrid, tough 3. Like, it doesn't really quite add up, I don't think. It never really does for me. And also, like, you know, one of the things that we mentioned in beta is like, this is a perfect unit to get stuff like marks and debuffs.
Exactly, right? Like, so these sorts of units should be the vanguard of an army. And what do vanguards do? They will either be shock type cavalry or shock type units to get there and hit something and hit it hard and fast, or they're scouts. They're advanced, advanced recon units that are going to be picking targets, feeding information back to the rest of your force. So I don't know. I think it was, I agree. It was a flavor miss, I think, with 3.5 that these sorts of bike units weren't either primarily scouts or the ones that have the piercing target, the precision target, the marks, and the debuffs. Like, that's...
I find it really interesting that APC's got a lot of that, despite them already having very clear utility, right? Like they're good because they're models, and they're good because they've got transport, right? And now they also have marks as well, which puts them in a weird position. A bit of a shame, really, that they didn't get stuff like that. One thing that you have just made me think of there as well, it'd be kind of cool if there was a rule in the game that gave you bonuses against units that have already activated. Yeah. You just kind of play that like sneaky. I don't think we didn't bring that up in our
we didn't bring that up in our thing. No, we've discussed that before.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing where I can see bikers being used for, right? That kind of like high mobility harassing unit that like sits on the flank, and then, you know, if you activate the unit before, then it can charge in and do its stuff, right? And it gets some sort of advantage plus 1 to hit or whatever. But you know, because traditionally, like what do bikes do? I was actually talking to Tanner about this the other day. I was talking to him about like, I was saying that aircraft should have their speed reduced, right? I think 30-inch range is too much, and 36 is especially too much. And I said it'd be much more appropriate if they were like 24-inch range. And he said he wanted aircraft to feel fast. But I was like, well, bikers don't really feel fast, do they? Right? Like a biker moving normally is only moving 2 inches more than a normal movement thing, right? So like the traditional use for like high mobility, like if you brought a bike onto a battlefield, you'd expect it to go like quick, right? That's the advantage it has, right? Even giving these things like a rule where like if you rush or charge, you're harder to hit or something, right? So it's something that makes them feel like they're supposed to be like a mobility piece. Because right now they're like they're not, like fast is not enough of a selling point for them with the awful like weird mixed profiles and tough 3 thing they've got going on.
Do you want to know on that exact point what are the biggest flavor fails? But they've got fast, and if you want to make them faster by putting a sister on a bike Well, sorry, a Novice Leader. Oh, you can't even put a Novice Leader on a bike. I was going to say that it's fast aura, so fast and fast don't stack. But you know what? You don't even have fast aura on your sisters and your high sisters, celestial sisters, sister.
Your
Yeah,
Fanatic ones will have it, right?
uh,
Because surely
they don't have
they
a bike
don't.
upgrade.
That is almost certainly missing, right? Surely that should exist, right? We've got Fanatic on bikes. Because that's one way you can make them get a bit of a punch, right? A bit of shred and melee, maybe you're talking about then. But yeah, probably an oversight there.
R.I.P.
So we just went away then, did have a look. There is not a biker model by
No bikers. R.I.P.
no biker model. I did look at the biker models.
Biker
They're pretty
Fanatic.
gnarly though, so that is good.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? They're cool. I wish the Biker Sisters could go to A4 like I thought they did. They were much more justifiable, I thought. But womp womp, not the case. But let's move on to things with wheels that are justifiable. And this is where we tie things in so strongly to the rest of the Sisters army. You may come out of that core unit review thinking, these guys are pretty down on an army they're pretty up on. Here's where we go really up. Let's start with the less exciting, the APC. But it is still quite exciting. 170 points gets you a very typical Qual 4, Def 2, Fast, Impact 3, Tough 6, Transport 11 model. 170 points it has Devout. 3 shots at AP 1 with 24-inch range, quite standard that you'd see. You can give it a Dozer Blade to give it Strider. You get a Hunter Missile, the limited Deadly 3 thing. And you can upgrade it with a gun additionally. You can give it the casting debuff, which gives this a bit more of a battlefield role on top of being the Transport 11. It's a transport. We've said about transports already. I don't think there's too much more to add to that one, other than to say, actually, this isn't what we're talking about.
No, I'm constantly surprised it costs 5 points for Strider on vehicles. I swear it used to be like 20 points. I think if you go back to our HGF review, Strider costs a lot more than 5 points. I don't know what happened at some point to change the scaling on it, but yeah, it's one of those things, right? With OPR point stuff, where it's like, is that intentional? I don't know. I don't remember there being patch notes about Strider being buffed, but sometimes points kind of change under your feet, and it's like 5 points seems very, very cheap for such a powerful effect.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you're taking an APC, then Strider's an auto take. Yeah, massively increases the utility of it.
Yeah, but that's not the exciting thing. The exciting thing is the next one on our list, the Procession Altar. So Blessed Sisters have got 2 very unique tank-like vehicles and 2 very unique walker vehicles. This is the first of the tank-like ones. For those of you watching on YouTube, holy crap, can you see the keyword soup at the top? Let's go through it all and see what it means. 250 points gets you a 4-2. It is a Tough 6, Transport 6, Impact 3, Fast, Devout vehicle. So these are familiar grounds to be on. In addition, though, this is fearless, so it's going to be sticking around a bit longer, not going to be shaking quite as easily. But at Tough 6, there's still a question mark there, but we will come on to that. Now, what does it do? It hands out shit tons of buffs. It gives out a Courage buff. Once per activation, pick a friendly unit within 12 inches, which gets +1 to morale tests. A Guarded buff. Once per activation before attacking, pick a friendly unit within 12 inches, which gets guarded once, which is +1 to defense rolls over 9 inches away. Precision Shooter buff. We've already talked a lot about the shooting in this army. Pick a friendly unit to get +1 to hit rolls when shooting. So you activate this Procession Altar and you effectively give someone +1/+1. +1 when shooting, +1 morale, +1 defense. Now that's pretty good, but when you consider it's a transport, you can do it to units on the inside. So there's more going on here than meets the eyes. Now what can you do? Oh, it also comes with 2 Blast 3 Purge reliable shots at 12 inches. You could replace those along with the Precision Shooter buff to instead give it 8 attacks with Purge and Reliable in melee. So this thing's got impact and 8 attacks. And a Precision Fighter buff, which you can then give to itself to make it hit on 3+. So it's a self-feeding one. Of course, you can give the morale and the defense to itself, and you can unload transport. So we've got something getting close to a walker here. What else can you do? You can upgrade it with the casting debuff. We've seen that already. Transport +6, extended cargo. So it's packing it in the trunk. And then here's why the Fearless thing's a bit more interesting. It's expensive, 120 point upgrade for a Holy Spear, 4 attacks, AP2 and reliable, and Tough +3. We're hitting a quite expensive, but a very unique Tough 9 Walker on wheels here. What does all that mean in the context of the army then, Harvey?
Well, the first thing it means is this thing breaks Balval. 8 attacks plus 3 impact is 11 potential, and this thing's got Tough 6. So that's a mistake. That should be this. I'm surprised that the automatic flagging hasn't picked that up, to be honest. Because, yeah, especially when you add the Tough 3 buff to it, and it's getting 4 extra attacks, so that's maxed Balval as well. So something's got to miss here. I think perhaps impact's been missed, but I thought that stuff was automated either way. So this is an example of a unit that we would love to see more of, right? This is such a unique and interesting unit for Sisters. It gives a bunch of buffs out, right, to a low quality, low defense army, right? It gives out buffs that they're interested in.
Yeah.
It's got transport, which is especially good. We've just mentioned all the like really, really vulnerable 6 wound units, right, that love having this transport around. It's got the casting debuff, which is like classic Blessed Sisters. It's got some cool customizability in it. It's just a really, really fun unit. I think it's great.
It's fucking cool.
Yeah, I think if you're taking it, you're always taking the Angelic High Sister. I think Tough 9 is a lot better than Tough 6. Least of all because Deadly 6 exists, but Deadly 9 doesn't.
Valid. Very valid.
I think the buffs it gives out are great. The transport +6 thing is a bit weird. Transport usually comes in like 6s and 11s and 16s and stuff. But it's already got transport 6. So adding transport 6 to that makes it transport 12.
Yeah.
Which is a weird stat line really to have. So you can have a big double stack unit in this. Or if you're feeling completely insane, you can have 2 sets of support sisters in it. Which is probably the most amount of points you could put in a single thing in this. So you could put doubled up heavy fusion rifles for 1,000 points plus the extra 300 points of this, and then the rest of your army is just sisters, novice sisters for days. I don't know where to place this unit. I think it's a good unit. It's very difficult, right? Because it wants to be doing things. It doesn't have access to Strider, which makes the melee profile on it a little worse.
But it is fast.
It is fast, yeah. Because it's a transport. Transport's being cheap is quite nice because you double move them most of the time as a first movement, so you don't feel like you're wasting it because it's quite cheap. Whereas this is very much getting into the melee of it all. It's a lot of eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah.
You're spending all these points on this big buff engine, and buff engines are a great thing to target because of you remove those buffs from the game. But this thing's also like a good fighter, so it's actually just even more higher priority, right? Like, think of like a precision shooter buff in HDF. You can put that on like a 30-point model. This is, so then they're less likely to go like, okay, maybe I should kill that 60-point model because it's giving out a +1 buff. Whereas this thing is like worth killing anyway. It's worth pouring resources into. And if it's also a transport, then it's especially worth pouring resources into. So yeah, that's kind of tough. I will say, like you're hovering over here, it can buff itself, which makes it very durable. That first round, obviously, it's going to give itself +1, so that's actually a 1-up defense instead. If this thing had regen, I'd feel a lot safer about it.
Yeah, I think if it had regen, though, it would be absolutely cracked.
Yeah, but as you said, right, like the melee profile gives it +2 to hit on all its attacks.
Yeah,
right. So it can't make use of its own precision fighter buff, unfortunately. But 8 attacks hitting on 2s with Purge is probably AP1. Another 4 attacks AP2 hitting on 2s is good, and then 3 attacks no AP hitting on 2s with impact. It's a very aggressive stat line, as mentioned. It does break Balval, so
yeah, it absolutely ruins Balval. So that's it, right? This thing, it may be qual 4, but if you make it full melee, that is 15 attacks on a tough 9 thing that all hit on 2-ups, because impact's 2-ups and its 2 weapons are reliable. Yeah. That you then combine that 12 of those have got devout on them, so you're hitting on average, what does it work out as, 14.5 times when this thing charges? That is just raw stats. you know, there's a chance that 8 of them have AP1 because of Purge, 4 of them certainly have AP2, and you can make it very resilient. It's got that fearless bit going on there. I think one of the things that tips this away from being an always take is the mandatory transport 6, because when you're really squeezing every last drop of value from something, that transport 6 is something that you wish it didn't have. Otherwise, you just lock this in. If it didn't have it, though, you'd take it every time as just this 300 and something point mega walker of death.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is, right? It's a walker in disguise. And with it being a walker in disguise, it's kind of a weird one, right? Because walkers have fear. This has impact, which is the tank thing. Yeah. Which is where I imagine the mistake has come in. But it's...
Almost certainly.
So it's a weird one, right?
Like, A8 on a tough 6, that's typical.
Yeah.
And then AP plus 4 attacks on a tough 3 is quite typical as well. It's just forgotten that it is impact 3.
Yeah, so where this thing is great is the fact it's a fast walker.
Yeah.
As long as you never need fear with it, which to be fair, you might not, because it has 3 up morale into fearless, right? So winning combat might not be as matter as much as you think it does. But yeah, it's certainly interesting. I think obviously one of the downsides of taking the melee profile is it doesn't make use of precision fighter itself. So you do need a melee unit to really take advantage of that. Otherwise, it's literally wasted points.
That, or you're playing into change and machine cults who get -1 hit against.
That's true. That's true. Any sort of -1 hit that obviously works then. But overall, I think it's a good unit. I think it's going to be a very, very high priority target for your opponent. So I probably wouldn't stuff it full of really, really high priority things as well. If you're going to take it, I'd definitely do the tough 9 upgrade. I'd most of the time do the all melee build because it has synergy with the tough 9 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, build it how you really want to build it. If you can make use of the precision shooter buff, then go for it.
I think the biggest thing I want to sing and dance about is exactly what you've said already. This is cool. It's unique. It is something we don't see elsewhere in OPR. It's a reason to take Sisters over other Unit X, over Orcs, for example, who've got the same army-wide rule. I really like the Procession Altar, and I think it's super fucking cool. And if you're bringing Blessed Sisters and you like the rule of cool, bring a Procession Altar because it's fun. And one of the things we didn't talk about is that you can do it with your Protector Sisters, with their Procession Swords and their Procession Banners, and you put someone like High Sister in it with Shred and Melee Aura, or a Novice Leader with a Shred and Melee Aura, and you have this huge death ball thing just exploding onto the field.
Full roleplay build, yeah. And
exactly.
Also you can just fill it full of 20-point Novice Sisters, Novice Leaders even, and just have it like fucking, they like launch satellites in a big bundle and they all like spread
and they all
out.
just spread out.
You can do that with this, which is actually really, really valid, right? So one thing to know about transports with really cheap heroes in it is when you destroy the transport, the hero disembarks and it's stunned, which sounds like a bad thing, but you've probably not activated the 20-point hero inside. So what it actually acts as is that they need to put a second activation into it, which is better than having 2 activations on the point because things can split target, whereas you can't kill this thing and then kill the thing inside of it without using casting or dangerous terrain debuff, which is also very not likely because it's also, this big 2-up top 9 thing. So definitely a valid use of that extra transport 6. Is just putting some Novice Leaders in it so that it's a reliable point capture as well.
That could
with it being
be
melee as well,
build, right?
Like with it being melee, sometimes you charge off the point, and then you can just deploy 6 inches backwards from it and still capture the point there, which gives it a lot of threat range.
Yeah,
so
and
you can do stuff like charge a unit. The unit then has to wrap around the Procession Altar, and then you just disembark and go round. The unit that you just tried off the point, which is interesting. So yeah, I like it. It's a good unit.
Moving on, something less sexy and dynamic than the Procession Altar, but still really worth talking about is the Exo-Suits. This is a 100-point model, Qual 4, Defense 3, Devout, of course, Tough 6, which we're usually down on, but Fear 1. Tough 6, Fear 1, and only 100 points. I have to make that clear. It comes with an Energy Mace, 1 attack, AP2, Blast 3, and a Stomp for 2 attacks AP1. So this is only 5 points of output. You can replace the Energy Mace. Importantly, you can replace it. So you can either replace it with 3 attacks AP1 rending on a sword, or 2 attacks AP2 and Blast 3, or 6 attacks AP1 rending. You can upgrade it with a gun. You can actually upgrade it with two, but I'm not doing that because for, say you give it the most in a melee upgrade, 135 points, this thing is a 4-3 tough 6 with 8 attacks at AP1 and 6 of them are ending with Devout. Compare that, as we were just talking about, the Warrior Sisters, the Vanguard Sisters, 140 points for 5 toughness, defense 4 up. This thing is defense 3 up, it has fear 1, and when it takes wounds, it does not lose its damage effectiveness. The Exo-Suit is something.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that's really easy to criticize, and then you go to the points costing, you're like, oh, actually, shit, it's really cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
I would still rather have a unit of Novice Sisters over the base Exo-Suit profile. Once again, like, tough 6 is one of the smallest amounts of wounds you can get on a unit. Obviously, 3 is the minimum. But 6 isn't doing great, right? Nobody's looking at a def 3 tough 6 thing going like, that thing's going to survive, right? It's going to die every time someone affects it with anything, basically, right? If it gets charged, it's going to die. If it gets shot, it's probably going to die. So these are basically like, they're kind of in that weird point thing where it's like, well, if basically they're always going to die, which I really do believe, then would I not rather just have a Novice Leader who's got a smaller base, easier to hide, same amount of movement, sure, nowhere near as aggressive, but really an Exo-Suit's threatening tanks and fatigued units, and it's also fatiguing units. And if you're looking for that role in your army, then pick one up. But for me, I think I'd rather have a bit more impact. It's nice to see on a list because sometimes you've got 100 points left over and you just got to slap something in there and the Exo-Suit's fine. But I think tough 6 is one of the weird tough breakpoints for output, where 8 attacks is very often not enough to really punch through and win combat, especially when not accompanied by def 2.
Yeah. I think looking at the Exo-Suit, on the more positive side, it tells me 2 things. One, what the fuck is going on with tough point costing? Because this thing is absolutely crackers, cheap for what you get on tough. But really, more importantly, is the second point of just saying, where do I value having all of my points come out from? And it's going to be things that do more in the long run. If I want to have something cheap that just does its job of taking a point and being annoying, I can take cheaper. If I want something big and tough, I will take bigger. But what this does as well is just show the tough costing is fucked, because why would I take a unit of 5 dudes when I can take this?
Yeah, I think one thing to know about Blessed Sisters is because they've got, I mean, Def 4 is not awful, right? But it's not, I'm not singing its praise. So I'm going to call them Glass Cannon off the back of that. Because of that, you're often incentivized not to have lots of activations, because activating twice into round 2 is really nice if one of your big strong units is still around to do stuff. So when you see stuff like this, it can actually be a disadvantage, right? Like taking this as 100 points instead of just upgrading the things you've got. Sometimes you'll be really frustrated when you lose the activation wall by 1 and because you've moved this piece of shit Exo-Suit. So if you are spending a lot of points on some of your units, like, you're spending 480 points on some big boy units, there's 2 ways of making sure you get use out of them. One is lots of activations, so you activate them late and then your opponent doesn't have a counter to them. But the other way is to try and get like double activation into round 2, which this goes against. So I wouldn't throw as willy-nilly into your list. There's definitely some sort of consideration there. There's a trade-off innate to its cost. But like you
explain that double activation into round 2 thing. I think that's something else that we should be explaining a bit better.
Yeah. So when obviously if you finish activating first, then you start activating first into the next round. Now what you can do with that is you can round 1 is often kind of like a nothing round, so you can hold back your really high priority activations until the end of your activations. So if I've got 6 activations, my opponent's got 7, I go through my 6. They then have 1 activation left. So if I have something like a Walker that's got a 12-inch threat range, I can move it 6th, move 12 inches. My opponent then has 1 opportunity to counter it. And then I go first and I move it another 12.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that's turned the 12-inch threat range into a 24-inch threat range. Not in an activation style, but in like I could have hit any unit within 24 inches of me. And most of the time getting to your target is the hardest part about these things.
Yeah.
So if you lose the activation wall like that, you can still do that strategy, but you'll be activating first after them, which
Yeah,
can
the opponent
sometimes
gets
make a huge difference. Yeah,
those
and you're
extra
then
kind
obviously
of
within 12 inches
threat
of them, they've got more
targets.
chance to kill it. And yeah,
Yeah. Lovely. Okay, now let's keep going into some more very unique units here. This is excellent stuff from the Blessed Sisters, and we're going to start with the peak of APCs. This is what we talked about earlier when we talked about the combination of something like the High Deadly unit, like the Celestial and the Support Sisters, with something that is an all-comer, the Infernal APC. What is this? It is Flamers on wheels. It's glorious. It is 260 points for a Devout, Fast, Impact 3, Transport 6, but this one is Tough 9. It's a Qual 4 defense 2 up. It comes with 3 of these Purge Flamers attacks. They're split as well, so you can split your attacks out. So in total, it's 3 attacks, Blast 3, Purge, Reliable. And what can you do with it? You can replace 2 of them with a heavy twin fusion rifle. This 18 inches, 2 shots of deadly 3 at AP4. You can get a heavy machine gun, 6 attacks AP1, or you can get a twin blessed flamer cannon, 18 inches on your flamers. You can replace the single shot one with storm rifle, heavy fusion rifle, heavy machine gun. So this thing can become a deadly 3 menace. You can upgrade it with Dozer Blade. Interesting here, it's 10 points. So we found the break point of 5 and 10 points. And then you can just give it an extra fucking flamer or 12-inch fusion rifle for 25 or 35 points. You can end up very quickly with this Transport 6 Tough 9 unit with 4 flamer shots or 4 deadly 3 shots. It is so good. I've got one in my current list and I'm enjoying using it.
yeah, a nice little all-rounder piece. Tough 9, as you mentioned, is very good. What this actually is, though, is what would happen if you strapped a trailer to a flamer beast. That's what this really is. That's the only way to describe this thing.
This is the hillbilly flamer beast.
Yeah, this is a bit like the Procession Altar. It's a very, very unique thing to have in a list. A Tough 9 transport, few and far between. I think Prime Brothers get them. So that's the selling point for it. It's very, very aggressively statted, like most transports are. We'll get like 8 attacks. This obviously gets 12. And obviously it's got the extra tough to go along with that, right? But, 12 is a lot more than 8. It gets Strider, unlike the Procession Altar, so it's a lot more mobile. Because all the flamers have got different names, you can split target very nicely.
Very nicely.
Which is good. But yeah, I mean, if you like flamers, this is a thing for you. I think Infernal APC is one of those things that basically always sneaks into my lists. Sisters want
it doesn't sneak into my list. It comes in, tooting all the fire.
Yeah. I put it in first because I know at some point something's going to go in and it'll be fine. So yeah, nice piece.
We've kept the summary of that very short, but we love the Infernal APC here.
Yeah.
It's just so good. It does everything you want it to do excellently. So well done, Infernal APC, and it's a sick model as well. Go check it out in my mini factory. Continuing on the quite unique things, we have got a battle tank, the Tough 12 tank, the thing you'll expect, but we'll come on to that later. We're going to talk about the organ tank. Now, this one doesn't make it into so many of my lists, but let's go through it anyway. 365 points gets you another Tough 9 vehicle. Qual 4, Def 2, Devout, Fast, Impact 3. What has it got? So this is kind of like the AA, the anti-aircraft tank, which it does with music. The organ heavy missile. How many people have said that aloud in their lifetimes? 30-inch gun, 3 attacks, AP2, deadly 3, and unstoppable. So this is the thing you want to be pointing at aircraft and also change demons and machine cults. It has also got a flamer. We're not leaving home without one, the 12-inch Purge one, which you can replace with a heavy fusion rifle, the 18-inch deadly attack, or a machine gun or a storm rifle. You can get a Dozer Blade on it, the Hunter missiles. You can replace the organ heavy missile with an organ mortar array. Yes, that's what it's called. It's ridiculous and wonderful. 3 shots, AP1, blast 3 indirect. It is 65 points. If you think you're facing down aircraft, you're playing at 3,000 points, then here is something that is going to help you out a little bit. Unfortunately, the unstoppable shots are only AP2 though.
Yeah. So yeah, this is your anti-aircraft, right? Like I don't think this has got a massive amount of value outside of that. Unstoppable's nice because it ignores regen. But I think if you're bringing a dedicated deadly, you're probably not looking to spend this much on it. And you're
Yeah,
probably not bringing it in a form that's susceptible to deadly. Um, so armies obviously have to do that, right? But Blessed Sisters aren't one of those. So I think this is kind of a local meta piece. If you're seeing a lot of aircraft, then bring this. If you're seeing a lot of tough 3 with like Def 4, then bring this. But overall, I think I'm a little bit down on this. I don't think it
I am.
quite
Yeah.
does enough damage to
It's
justify it.
fucking rad. It's cool.
Yeah.
But as an efficiency piece for the most juice out of my army, I am not bringing it. And I think really it is that AP2 point that's the biggest letdown.
So hunter missiles are like a human faction thing, and they have AP2 Deadly 3 limited unstoppable. Now, the DAO version of that has indirect instead of unstoppable.
Interesting.
And it's called the like homing AT missiles or whatever, right? So this is clearly meant to be used for aircraft, and the one I just described is meant to be used against tanks. So if you are bringing this to counter aircraft, do bring these hunter missiles as well. They add to that repertoire, and they push it from not always killing aircraft to giving it a chance of one-shotting it more reliably, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to hit half of these, that's like 2, and then they've got a 4 up. So it puts them in that kind of like 1 in 4 for the aircraft to die. Whereas without that, you tend to have more of like a, you might hit like 1, and then that's, you're going to shake at best.
Yeah.
So
Every
definitely bring that along if
sixth
you're looking
game-
for that role.
The nice thing about the hunter missiles with Sisters is every 6th game, you're going to double proc them because of Devout. So they can have nice pickups there. I tend to not pick them up when I'm building. But yeah, meta pick, I think, is a good way of describing it. Let's move on to the battle tank before we get into one of my favourite parts about the Sisters. The battle tank. 380 points gets you a tough 12 4-2 tank. Devout, fast, impact 6. It is very similar to what we see in Human Defence Force with a bit more fire in the flames. It comes with an anti-tank cannon, very aptly named, 30 inches, A1, AP only 3, not AP4, deadly 6. It's got 2 of these blessed flamers. You can replace the anti-tank cannon with a battle cannon, 2 attacks, AP2, blast 3 at 30 inches, or a twin auto cannon, 6 attacks with AP2 at 36 inches. You can replace the flamers with a similar array of guns we've seen before. Again, hunter missiles, dozer blade, and you can get an extra flamer or a 12-inch fusion rifle or a storm rifle on top of it with this tank. I don't like it.
It's a tank.
It's a tank.
That's basically as far. This thing does go up to 15 wounds, which is quite nice. It has lots of flamers on it, so it can roll forwards.
Sorry, you mean?
Yeah. 15 wounds of damage output. It has got flamers on it, so it can roll forwards and get a bit more engaged, which I think is interesting enough. I think most of the time I'm taking the Infernal APC over this.
Yeah.
Like you said, AP3 Deadly 6 is not quite as nice as AP4. Like a 1 in 3 chance. So you got a 50-50 chance of hitting it, and then they've got a 1 in 3 chance of saving it. It starts to feel a bit like sad at that point.
Do you know what my least favourite part about this compared to the Infernal APC as my anti-tank piece is?
Oh, yeah.
That if I load out my Infernal APC with all of the deadly options, right? So the twin heavy fusion rifle, 2 attacks, AP4 deadly 3, an extra heavy fusion rifle for an extra attack, AP4 deadly 3, and then a 12-inch fusion rifle, AP4 deadly 3. For my 12 points of deadly damage, I'm rolling 4 dice, and each one of those is an extra bite at Devout. Whereas with this one, that deadly 6, it's 1 dice to go for it. And yeah, if it hits with its deadly 6, it can just absolutely ruin anything that's tough 12. But it feels like the opportunity to have those spikes is much more reduced because you're rolling fewer dice.
It's also just. I think it ends up being. It has the same number of dice, right?
Yeah.
Because it can replace 2 flamers, right? With the deadly attacks.
It can do, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
You are right.
But it is then tough 12 to get that Val bonus, and I think at that point, like, you're starting to spend like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of points in a dedicated anti-deadly thing that doesn't do very well on its own. Like, this doesn't have access to stealth like some of the other tanks, which I think is quite crucial for winning that kind of like deadly versus deadly thing. It does have Strider, which is obviously nice, but honestly, I think I'm just bringing some Sisters to deal with the problem most of the time.
Yeah.
Because I think they do it a lot more reliably than the battle tank does.
Now, let's get exciting. I love a walker. I love a big tough 12 def 2 thing with shit tons of attacks, and the sisters again do it uniquely. What a good army. They've got the assault walker and the support walker, and why are they unique? Because they're tough 9. Now, Harvey, you did already mention tough 9 being very good because there's deadly 3 or there's deadly 6, so you have to go for it here. And then these guys as well, we've talked about regeneration, they both have regen. Let's get into it. The Assault Walker is a 4-2 tough 9 for 270 points. Now, what does that get you? Devout, yes. Fear 2, which is something, you know, we see on tough 12 guys, so that's already good. Fearless, regen, as I've mentioned. Here's really one of the biggest things. We talk about the tournament pack. It's got Scout. Phenomenal. And then on top of that, it's got Piercing Assault for +1 AP when charging. It comes in with 2 heavy flails. These are A1, AP1, Blast 3 attacks. And remember, Blast 3 plus Devout, very, very good. And a Stomp for 3 attacks AP1. Now, that's all fun. You can, if you want to, replace any of those heavy flails with a Rapid Blessed Flamer. So the heavy flamer with Purge, but 2 attacks. So you can pump this to be a 4 flamer attacking tough 9 dude, which is hilarious. But I like to kit it as a melee walker and keep it as melee. Both of the walkers I play as melee, and I like it because you piercing assault is when charging. So what I like to do is give it heavy claws, these A4 AP1 rending in replacement of the flails, and then you end up with something that's got 11 attacks on the charge at AP2 and rending. I love the Assault Walker. It's one of my favourite things.
Yeah, I think the place where we differ is I think I prefer the AP4. It does feel a little bit wasted with the piercing assault, but I mean every so often you fight dwarves or whatever.
Yep, very true.
Yeah, this is a nice unit, right? It's got a bunch of the keywords we really like to see. Exploding Sixes is good. Piercing Assault is good. Fearless is good. Regen is good. Scout is good, right? Like it's a big keyword soup of all the things we like. This is one of the units, so we didn't mention this before, but the Devout used to be shooting only and within 12 inches. So there are actually a couple of units in the army that have really, really benefited from Devout becoming melee as well. And the Support Walker is one of them that we'll get onto in a second. But this especially benefits from it as well.
Really does.
All the melee stuff in the army now has Exploding Sixes, which is just, you know, an enormous buff to the output.
It really, really is. So Assault Walker is excellent. I like to start most armies with 2 of them, as we'll come on to later. Now, the Support Walker is a different kind of saucy excellence. 260 points gets you a tough 9, 4-2, Devout, Fear 2, Regen. We've spoken about this. It's got Fearless as well. It's got Devout Boost, so we're on the 5s and 6s coming out of it here for exploding attacks. And it's got Fortified for AP -1, so it's actually a defense 1-up. It's also got the heavy flails and the stomp, and you can replace bits. So if you replace the heavy flails here, you just go straight to a rapid heavy machine gun, but that makes it expensive because each one is 110 points. So it can be a 12-shot AP1 walker for 480 points, which is not horrendous, but at the same time, it's only AP1. I like to keep it in melee. Why do I like to keep it in melee? Because it's got the exact same melee upgrades. And here, I do agree with Harvey. The Heavy Fists, A4, AP4, are a wonderful upgrade for the Support Walker.
Yeah, so as mentioned, Devout used to be shooting. So the only way this could make use of its Devout and Devout Boost that it had before was through the heavy machine guns, which is a real shame. Now it's an absolute melee beast. So it's really had a big glow up in that time. I think one of the big disadvantages of the double rapid heavy machine gun is that they have the same name. I mentioned this when we talked through the Titan Lords thing when we were doing list reviews, list doctors, and being able to split fire with ranged weapons is really, really, really good. It's one of the major strengths of it, and this doesn't have that. It also, I mean, it's still quality 4, so you still have that big caveat. But I think overall, like for 260 points, bit more if you go for your heavy fists, it's good, right? Like I think, it's a nice tough 9 is a great breakpoint. Regen is great, you know. Like with regen and tough 9, you're more durable than tough 12 without regen. Assuming you get your regen. If you don't get your regen, obviously that's bad. But this is also fortified, so it's basically always going to be, you know, very, very hard to kill. Big deadly guns are going to find
sticky.
it difficult to kill this because most deadly guns are going to have this on a 5-up into a 5-up, which is still really, really good odds of surviving a wound.
Yeah. Fantastic unit. I love the support walker. I love both the walkers in this. The big downside, I think, though, is that they don't really have the organ, not the organ tank. The Infernal APC is the biggest way of taking out armor. So what if you're playing at 3,000 points? Well, what if you're playing at 3,000 points? We have got a Blessed Titan for you. 805 points gets you a quality 3 defense, 2 tough 24 monstrosity. It's devout, it's fear 4, it's fearless. It comes with 2 blessed hole flamers. That's not why we're here. We're not here for the 2 heavy flamers. It has got a stomp, 8 attacks AP2, very much what we'd expect to see on a tough 24. And then it's got 2 Titan flails, A4 blast 3 rending. Now, where's the AP? Where's the juice? It's down here. You can make it a shooty one and replace any of those 2 Titan flails with some claws, 12 attacks each. So this thing can rock out at 32 attacks on a single model, which is great. Titan swords, a 10 AP1 rending, so we're losing a few attacks there. Titan chainsaws, 4 attacks AP2, deadly 3. Titan fists, 8 attack AP4. Or you can make it shooty for hundreds and hundreds of points. You could also replace the whole flamers, but I'm not really doing that. I'm looking at this thing and thinking, 32 attacks? 32 attacks for 855 points sounds... That's my kind of shit. That's just fucking mental. Yeah.
I think I agree. I think this you probably use this in melee. This has got to be somewhere on the line for the most expensive model in the game, right? Like paying 285 points twice potentially.
Yeah, it's
like 1,400 points for a model is very expensive. I think there might be some stuff in Robot Legions that is like default 1,000 points, and there might have more upgrades that way. But yeah, I mean this is a 3K thing. Interesting enough, if you go for the Titan Autocans, you can't actually run it at 3K either. It's too expensive. So the only way you can really run this in 3K is by running the melee version. Obviously, the reason why it's so expensive is because it's got 36-inch range guns and 30-inch range guns, which unfortunately is the exact opposite of what it wants. When you have big things like this with Def 2, Fearless, and Fear 4, what you're looking to do with them is to walk them forward. You want them to have a very strong range profile, but then they also have the A8 AP2 that comes along with Titans. And so it can actually win melee as things charge it between Fear 4 and, just stomping on them. And then it can use its range to affect the map all over. 36 inches is probably too much. It would be nice if it was slightly less to make it a bit more affordable. But I think also if you're running this and if you have an opportunity to run with guns, you're already in the silly territory, right? You're like at that point, what did I say, 1,400 points? So that's actually, you're not even running 4K at that point. I think you're running even more than 4K. So that's in like one of these like annihilation games where people bring like 80,000 points each side. That's where you'll find the Blessed Titan doing it, shooting things, and then goddamn, I hope 24 shots AP2 is enough for it to pull its weight. Because what is that? That's 16 hits 4 times of AP2 to make up 1,400 points of value. That's a big ask.
It's a big ask.
Yeah.
But that's our good silly fun with that.
Yeah.
We're not done. There is a narrative hero to discuss. We will talk about Constance. She's just one of these extra cute bits to add that flavour to your army. 100 points gets you a 4/4 hero with Devout, as we'd expect. Tough 3. She is unique, of course. She is Scout Strider and increased shooting range aura. So she looks like she fits very nicely into the Vanguard Sisters. She has got a 6-inch flamer pistol. Blast 3 purge reliable, but remember, increased shooting range aura. She is a 12-inch shot and 2 attacks AP1 and rending in combat. What do we do with Constance? I think we stick with the Scouts, Shotgunners, and for 100 points, give them that bit extra threat range.
Yeah, I think unfortunately a bit of a number with the old Constance. First of all, she's got a 6-inch range gun, and she's mainly always going to be inside 12-inch range shooting.
Yep.
Which means her increased shooting ranges let her shoot with her group, but not really letting them shoot any further until the enemies get closer. If you're playing Scout, you probably want to be making advantage of all your range to control as much space as possible. If you're putting her in the unit, then you're immediately trading off the ability to get AP2 instead, which I don't think increased shooting range is worth. And honestly, I think I'd rather just have, like just a normal hero over her, really. Like, increased shooting range is such a fun thing, but just what she brings along with her is disappointing, right? Like, she's paying for an energy sword, and yeah, she's a cool like hero and stuff like that, but where do you slot her if not in the Scouting Sisters? Well, nowhere, because she has Scout and Strider, so you're paying for those points, right? So she's very clearly designed to go into that unit, but she doesn't actually fit in that unit very well, which to me is really surprising. Like, why couldn't she have just had like a blessed heavy flamer pistol and it'd be 12-inch range? You know, and then all of a sudden she fits in perfectly and she's ready to go. So a bit disappointing, old Constance, really. I think her thing's kind of cool, right? And I think if she... I know they don't get upgrades, narrative heroes, but if she had either Scout and Strider or a jetpack, then you would see it. Then it goes in the kind of the ambush one as well. Though I guess it's a bit of a number with point blank surge. So whatever you do with her, I guess she's not great. So use her if you like the mini, but I think honestly, if you like the mini, use her as a high sister instead.
Yeah, absolutely. That rounds out our review of the units, but of course this is the point where we come on to talk about the lists. We have built two in advance here. We've got one which is a bit more serious and one which is right up my alley of ridiculous. Let's go have a look at them. So here is our serious list. This is one that you've put together for us, Harvey. It has a lot of the core tenets of what we were discussing about some good things to see at 2,000 points, but talk us through how you got to this list.
So I built this list because it has a naked hero in it. If you ever see a naked hero in a list, I've been there. We start off with a high sister who's completely butt naked. Similar to the Dow list, this is just a kind of like scouting advantage for 45 points, having an activation. As I mentioned before, like it's not as good as 20 points because some units obviously do cost less than 400 points. But killing this thing is often not worth people's time, but is essential. It has Scout, which is really nice for just like nabbing other people's points. It's got Strider, so it can double move out of difficult terrain. It's a real pain in the ass for melee units to deal with because of that. If you look to the very, very last unit in the list, we've got double Assault Walker. And so those guys have Scout as well. So most lists will only have 3 Scout at max. You've got 3 Scouts max. You've only paid 45 points for the pleasure of your last one. And that means that if you are going first, you play your high sister, they play one of theirs. You play your Assault Walker, they play one of theirs. You play an Assault Walker, they play one of theirs. And then you go first. So if they decide to threaten one of your Assault Walkers, you charge it immediately and you kill it.
Yeah.
Or damage it. If you go second, then they place theirs, you place your high sister, they place theirs, you place your Assault Walker, they place theirs, you place your Assault Walker. So therefore you have the positional advantage then in theory. And if you didn't have that last Scout, you would have neither of those things. So this gives you the opportunity to have either of those things.
Yeah. We are we're quite firm on 3 Scouts as being the optimum, I think, at the moment. Until we face someone with 4 Scouts, and then we might change our minds. But at the moment, we think Scout 3 is about the limit.
There are all Scout lists out there as well, which is obviously very good, but it's lacking in a lot of AP, I think, most all Scout lists. The aircraft might solve that problem. So from there, it should come as no surprise to anyone that we have stacks of Novice Sisters. Novice Sisters for 235 points, very efficient for 20 models. We've got the Regen Aura and the Courage Aura in there. This is 40 attacks on 5-ups with Exploding Sixes. Now, both of these have a Celestial High Sister embedded in them. Now, the first one has got an extra 10 points spent on it because I had 10 points kicking over. But really, these could be just 65 pointers. So 65 points brings the whole unit to 300 points. And for 300 points with the Celestial High Sister in it, you get Shredded Melee instead of having no AP. So not only are you throwing 40 dice with Exploding Sixes, but if they roll 1s, then they explode as well. This turns this from like a relatively threatening unit to just a terrifying unit. It's on average, in inverted commas, hitting, I think is it 20 attacks with the Celestial Sister throwing in an extra one, so 21 attacks. That's a lot of hits anyway into most things. That's a lot of hits. But Shredded Melee doubles its effectiveness against Depth 2 stuff and just makes it like a real threat. And we've mentioned it before, but effects like Shred, they keep you in the game, right? Shred and Devout, right? Like you stop yourself from being maths out of the game. If I have 2 Novice Sisters and the opponent has 5 wounds left, if they didn't have Devout or Shred, I can never win the game. but when I have Devout and Shred, the chance of me winning the game goes up dramatically from 0. So it keeps you in the game in a really interesting way. Like one Novice Sister, if you've only got one left, it can charge, potentially get 4 hits, and those 4 hits could turn into 8 wounds, right? And that'll happen in someone's game at some point. So don't completely write it off just because it's unlikely. But the other thing the Celestial High Sister does is, in combination with Courage Aura, it gives it 2-up morale, which is obviously very, very scary as well. So not only do you have these enormous blobs of 23 wounds with 42 attacks and shred and regen, but you also have 2-up morale. So if you do get charged and lose combat, most of the time you're fine. Most of the time you won't run, which is great. So we've got 2 of those for 300 points. Why wouldn't you really? And then we've kind of got what we talked about previously in the video. So an Infernal APC with Celestial Warrior Sisters in it. So I've gone for 2 times precision targets here. This is also kind of a leftover points thing, but precision target is just really good in this list. If you look across the whole list, there's lots of things hitting on 4s. Hitting on 3s is really great. So the Celestial Warrior Sisters come out, they mark their 1 target they want to kill. That puts them on a 2-up with that Devout buff. So the effective 1-up. And then they can use that other precision target on something else that your other blobs want to threaten. Bring in, for example, your Novice Sisters up to an effective 3-up is kind of wild. But also, Assault Walkers from that 4 up to 3-up is really impactful. And because you're activating your Celestial Warrior Sisters after your Infernal APC is actually the only thing in this army that doesn't benefit from the precision target, so there's no real loss there either. So yeah, this is kind of the direction I would take a kind of a more optimized, more competitively minded Blessed Sisters list. It shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, the units we've got in here.
I think if you were paying attention through the army review, this is what you should expect to have seen. And if you paid attention to the way Harvey builds lists, the single Naked High Sister is not a comment on how he views his siblings. It's actually just good strategic planning.
It's late in the video, guys. It's really late in the video. Just turn it off now. Turn it off now. Of course, we do not end on the serious notes here. I don't think Just Charge. Here is the bonkers for you. I told you we love the Assault Walker. The Support Walker is great. I love big tough things, and the Exo-Suit High Sister was there begging to be taken. There was actually a few iterations of this list, which is hilarious that there are multiple ways of building it. But what have we ended up with? 3 Exo-Suit High Sisters with fast. Nice. Zoom on in, 9 attacks, you're doing very well. Fear 2, you're winning most combats if you pick them correctly. 2 Assault Walkers. Because we didn't have the points for it and we had the rogue 30 points, one of the walkers has got 2 heavy fists, so 8 attacks AP4. The other one is Claw and Fist. 4 attacks AP1 rending, 4 attacks AP4. Both of these on top of the stomp attacks these things have. And then 2 support walkers with heavy fists. Again, exactly as we said in the video. What do you get here is a really tanky little army. You've got quick maths, 36 wounds of defense 2-up regeneration. And way back to what we said in the video, because of the way that regeneration warps the amount of damage that needs to be done, that 36 wounds is actually closer to 54 wounds at defense 2-up. It's really quite scary. And then the 3 Exo-Suit High Sisters, the heroes, are really your flanking force. Bikes wish they were this good. Remember that the bike units we talked about were 215 and 220 points before upgrades. This thing is also tough 9. It's defense 3-up, so it's more resilient and it's fast. And this one has Fear 2 as well. And it doesn't lose attacks as it takes wounds. So there's another point of analysis on the bikes that I failed to actually draw attention to. But this is the tough meta, guys. This is a meme list. But I think it's actually quite a good meme list. Yeah, what this really represents is your only opportunity in the game ever to make a full tough 9 list. I don't think there's any other list in the game that can do it. So make the most of it here, I suppose. It's a bit like, I want to play Titan Lords, but I don't really want to run tough 12.
I don't want to eat shit.
Yeah, I don't. I don't want to run just 4 or 5 activations. I want the full 7.
I want the 7. This is actually a really good example of why adding tough 9 models to Titan Lords and Giants is really good, because this is what would happen. This is what you can do with tough 9s. And it keeps them actually distinct and different from the Titan Lords, which is important. So there we go. 2 batshit mental lists for you after 2 hours of batshit mental reviews from these guys here at Don't Think Just Charge. Thank you very much everyone on YouTube for watching and Spotify for listening. If you liked it so much on one of those platforms, go over to the other, click the thumbs up, do all those nice things. We really appreciate it. And again, this was another list review brought by you. We put the poll, Harvey, thank you for doing the hard work, Harvey. Harvey puts the poll in Discord, and you get to vote for what you want us to talk about. The Blessed Sisters won by 1 vote this week.
Yeah.
More votes coming soon. And if you want to be a part of that, join us in the Discord. Please subscribe to the channel, follow us on Spotify, all of those lovely things. Yeah. Any
winning by
one
vote. Well, winning by 1 vote is this could be your one opportunity to have a vote that really matters in life. You know, if you're ever worried about your vote not mattering, well, in the Don't Think Just Charge Discord, it matters, right? Okay.
There you go.
So
we care about you at home.
We do.
In this democracy of these 2 dictators. So I'm Dave, he's Harvey. This is Don't Think Just Charge. Thank you and good night.